Hello and welcome to episode 101 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey, and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Mr. Philip Hoy.
Hello. Ooh, talking to you from the other side.
Are you dead? You're supposed to be dead, or is it just because it's spooky?
It's just because it's spooky season, mate.
Yeah,
I thought I'd spook it up a little bit by talking like a ghost. There's no reference outside the ghost. It's just a ghost from any game, just a spooky ghost. Ooh.
Can you imagine how much of a twist that would be, Spence, if you'd been dead this entire time? And all our pre-brief before the show, he was just dead.
This is how we announce it to the world.
Yeah,
him
that'd
going,
be wild. I'm dead.
As soon as I die, you two are the ones that are going to get the haunting. It's not my family. What? It won't be Laura. I'm straight round your house. Ooh. So look out.
Can it be the kind of haunting on Ghostbusters, where Dan Aykroyd's lying in bed and he gets, like, touched up by a ghost? Can it be that kind of haunting? You know, where he's like, I don't know if I'm into this, and then he's like, oh, I like eyes rolling back or whatever, loving it, right? Because I won't see you.
I haven't done it in, normal life. Why would I do it in the afterlife? Why would I wait till the afterlife to touch? I could touch you now if I wanted to. Well, not physically now, because we're on the podcast. But next time I see you, I could touch you up if I wanted to. Why would I wait till the afterlife?
Because you'd get judged for, groping me when
Surely
you're
that's
alive.
Acceptable these days.
Contextually.
If somebody wants it, right? Like, I don't really particularly want to get touched up by you. But
thanks.
If you were dead, if you were a ghost, who's going to judge you then? You've already
freezing cold fake hands.
Oh, we don't know. They sometimes say, actually, they do say it's always cold when a ghost is around, don't they?
Always.
So yes,
freezing cold handy, mate.
Yeah. You're right. And the boy wonder himself, Spencer Davis. How are you?
Ooh wee. Yes, lads.
Oh, nice. Glad to hear it, lads. Isn't it weird saying 100 and something, like for an episode? 101. What a momentous occasion. We'll never have another one of these again. And listeners, you are in for a very special show today because we have got an absolute stacked show for you. I want to first off just apologize that we missed an episode 2 weeks ago, and that's because I was away. So I've been away in the States, been enjoying myself, going on holiday, doing all this, that, and the other. And so we just couldn't record. So apologies for that. But to make it up to you, we've got an extra long quick news coming your way today. So there's going to be even more juice on the vine. Those grapes are going to be bursting for you today because it's a goddamn juicer. But first, before we get into any of the stuff we go through, which is of course the usual run of the show, going through what we've been playing, diving into the quick news, and we're going to end today on a rumour. We start with a question, a hypothetical, and today the question was posed from the audience. So let's kick it off with the theme. There once was a show some time ago that asked 4 questions every fortnight or so. It became so rare they weren't prepared to have a versatile rhyme. Oh God, I'm scrambling now to get a word that rhymes, so how can I wrap this up? I'll take this mail and go. Lurian has written in, and he's asked us, boys, what's the pettiest thing that you've ever done? And that's it. Very straight to the point, say Lurian. Really, really appreciate that. Spence, over to you.
I don't think I'm a very petty person. So I read this question. I was scrambling in my head. What have I actually done that's petty? Because I'm not one for like acts of revenge or anything like that. But there was one thing. I think it might be the only time I've ever been petty, genuinely, because it's not something I often do. It was a Smash tournament I was going to attend to get drunk, so I didn't really care about how I was going to do. I was going to go and just DQ,
Right.
But the person who I was seeded the fight round 1 was like, I think I'm going to beat him. I think I'm going to beat Spenpai, and I was like, okay, all right, fuck it. So I played the first game, knocked them out, and then DQ'd.
Oh, that's shit, bro.
So I just ruined their day, and then just went, yeah, good luck for the rest of the tournament, off to the pub. And that was it. That might be the pettiest thing. But, well, it's probably the only thing, yeah.
Was there a loser bracket in this tournament, or was he just straight out? Was he like 0-2 and then straight out he had to go home?
It was only in like a pools thing, so they got put into losers of the pools.
Oh, okay. So you still had a chance to come back afterwards. You didn't completely knock him out. It's not like you dropped down then to the losers bracket and then beat him again and then thought, right, I've eliminated you from the whole tournament. Now you can go home. You just eliminated him from winners. Okay.
If that was feasible, I would have done that, but it couldn't have happened. So yeah, just sod it off. He still got to play for a while, I think, but I don't think made it out of pools. Whether that's on me, I don't know. But the points were good.
You crushed him early then, Spence.
Immediately, yeah, like 11:30 in the morning.
So he may have thought he would go a little further in the tournament, but his hopes and dreams were crushed at that early hour of the tournament. And then for the rest of it, he was already beaten.
Yeah, there was the saddest handshake I've ever had after as well. It was class.
Was it proper droopy? It was like a proper droopy.
It's so sad. It wasn't the ones like, if it's end of the tournament, usually it's like a firm, like, fuck kind of handshake. But this was just all sad and pathetic. And I was like, oh. I was like, maybe it was a bit mean. If I knew I was DQ'd anyway, but I did it because they talk shit. So.
I think you were just in what you did. I think this fucker deserved it, to be honest with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, talk shit, get fucking banged. And he talked shit, bro. He went in there full of, like, you never should be cocky in a fighting game tournament because you never know. Like, anything can happen. You know, you could just jump off an SD in Smash. You could have, like, a C4 on you and not know, like, your own C4 or something. It could be anything that goes wrong, like, to fundamentally fuck your day in Smash Bros. Or any fighting game. And the best you could do is just be humble, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you came up and he was like, I've heard a lot about you. Oh, I'm really looking forward to playing you. And you might be like, oh, do you know what? Maybe I might even let him win, kind of thing, you know? No, of course not. But the thought may have gone through your head, right? And at least the guy wouldn't have been like a prick, and he would have come off and looked all right. Whereas if he's like, oh, talking a big game, and then just gets fucking washed, there's nothing worse than that, dude. I think you deserve to teach him a lesson in humble pie, bro.
Surely the best thing to do at a fighting games tournament is just pretend you never played the game. It's not to be humble and be like, oh, Spence, I've got pictures of you on my wall. You're my favourite Smash Brothers player. It's to walk up and say, what even is this game? Is this Mario in a fighting game? This is weird, isn't it? Where do I put my handset? How do I change the buttons? You know, ask those questions.
Especially if you were to play Smash and you had just default controls, so you didn't have to do anything, then you could get away with it really well.
Easy.
When I was in London on the weekend, I went to a Comic-Con down there. They had a Smash Bros set up, and there was a load of people playing it. And I was like, I said to the kids, "Do you mind if I just have one game?" And they're like, "No, okay." And so they stood by, and I was like, I joined in, and they were all playing and sweating away these group of lads. And so I get on, and I'm like, "Oh, I haven't played this for a long time, right?" Get on, but then straight away I'm like, can we back out so I can do my controls? And it's like everything's being changed, right? Everything's being altered. And so the jig was up already, you know, they just got absolutely smoked. And if I had default controls, it would be like, oh, what the fuck? You know, like someone just sits down, boom, just goes. That's the only thing with Smash. You kind of can't hide it as well as you can with, like, say, a Street Fighter or something, where the only thing that would let you down is you pulling out your own custom fucking fight stick. That's the only thing that's going to really let you down. Oh, I never play fighting games. Pulls out like a 400 quid gold embossed fight stick.
Just get your mate behind you to hold it and say, "Oh, can I borrow your fight stick? Is that all right?" Because I'm new to the scene, and it could already be your stick, right? As long as you don't pick the character that's on the stick. So, for example, when we used to go, Davey, we used to have a Blanca stick. So I'd have to borrow your Ryu stick to play Blanca, and then we could proper mind fuck someone.
It's all the things, and it's all meta. It's all just meta on meta. But no, I think you were totally justified, Spence. I think this guy deserved it, and I don't feel you were petty. But...
well, we say deserved it. I think all they literally said was, "Oh, I think I could have a chance."
Oh,
it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna win." It wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat Spence by." It was like, "I think I might be able to do it," and I was like, "No, you won't." Nah,
not today.
Not me.
Oh, man. Well, okay, maybe it's a bit hard to justify. I'm trying to justify you here, right? I'm trying to stick up for you. What about yourself, Phil? Where are you going down with this one?
Well, I saw the question in the doc and I was trying to think back because I've done 1,000,001 petty things in my life. I'm 39 now, so I've lived a life. But I was trying to put my finger on what's the most pettiest thing that I've ever done. And I was quite finding it hard to pick out amongst all the petty things that I've done. But as Spencer's petty example links to fighting games, I'm going to do a fighting games one. And I can think of the most petty thing that I used to do in fighting games. And it was 2 buttons. It was down and B. We used to play a lot of Smash Brothers Brawl back in the day, didn't we, Davey? You used to come over, the big I am, and you would tell us how great you were at fighting games. And me and my brother, John and Jody, and the other people that used to come around my house and just get drunk on a Thursday night, we used to laugh away as if, what is fighting games? Is that a really competitive scene, or is it just something that Davey thinks he's good at? So he used to come over, as I said, the big I am, boasting away, saying, oh, I've been to all these tournaments, I'm incredible at this game. And then we would get into a match, wouldn't we? But we didn't play it tournament rules. We played, 4-player games. So we could all have a game. There was lots more than 4 in my room at the time. We'd all take it on rotation. But when the rotation hit right, there was me, John, and Jody. And we all went Kirby. And we would all press down B repeatedly to attack Davey. And that was the most petty thing that we did during that time, because we would just repeat this every single time that we would all get into the same match together, and it would just be thump, 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 thump. And of course, Davey's skilled. He can get away from 1 Kirby. He can get away from 2 Kirbys. But when that 3rd Kirby hits, it gets a little more difficult and frustrating. And during those times, and I remember it, and I've referenced it on the podcast many, many times, Davey literally got my handset and threw it against the wall because he was so frustrated because he yet again lost against the triple up on Kirby. So that's the most petty thing in fighting games that I've ever done, which I was backed up with 2 other mates because we were all very petty and we just wanted to put Davey down because you said you were good.
It was so hard as well. And it would be the worst is because I'd get used to it and start putting up a good fight. And then all it takes, it just cascades. And I was playing Snake, so I'd have the Cypher. So somebody would just jump off and just down B through the Cypher, kill Snake. So no matter what I did, I was always getting bodied by something. And yeah, when there's copious amounts of alcohol flowing, the rage does start to bubble, right? It happens. But yeah, I think that's pretty fucking petty. And if I'm honest, I think it's a horrible thing you did.
It was a mild form of bullying, really, wasn't it? We invited you around the house just to down B you because we'd planned it as well. We said, he talks a lot of shit, this guy. He says he's really good. Should we just all team up and get him? What's the worst thing that we could do? And I used to play Pikachu back in the day. And again, down B was my move, right? The electric. That was my skill within playing Pikachu back in the day. But we all thought Kirby would be a good triple up. And as soon as you saw that locked in, he knew he was in for a world of pain. And yeah, it happened over and over and over again. And I'm sure if we ever broke out Brawl now, we got the Wii out, I'm sure we would do that exact same thing, Davey. So, yeah, look out for the future, because I will be that petty once again.
Mate, I can add on to that with a follow-up story. I can't believe you got angry at that, Davey, because one night we were over Martin's, and you and us and Martin were playing threes, and you boys teamed up on me for like an hour. And I said, oh, can we just do something else? Or just do rotations, because this just isn't very fun. And you went, oh, grow up, mate. And you're telling me this after you've launched your mate's pad. You said to me, oh, grow up. That's crazy.
These days, mate, with a triple Kirby bypass, I think I'd be all right. I don't think I'd get too raged by it these days. But back in my youth, when I was a young lad, I got angry, and I need to grow up. So maybe I was giving you a life lesson there. And what I'm surprised is, and it's obviously affected you, that you've remembered it from all these years. I'm sorry, mate. Sorry.
Well, the shoe was very much on the other foot, wasn't it, in that circumstance? Because in my bedroom where we were playing Smash, Davey, the shit rolled downhill, and Davey got it in the neck. As soon as he was with you, Spence, unfortunately, he saw, the weak one in the herd, and he started picking on you. It's not nice, is it? Not nice at all. So remember that, Spence. Next time we're all playing together, we'll team up. I'll be on your side.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'll beat him on my ones anyway in Smash.
Yeah, it's true.
Fine.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true. Well, lads, I'd love to say it was hard for me to think of what it was, the most petty thing, but it came to me immediately as soon as I saw it. And it's something that I think I've told you guys before on the podcast, but the audience might not know, or might not even remember. So I remember I lent this kid a copy of...
I remember this.
Yeah, Resident Evil 1, I think it was, right? Resident Evil 3, I lent him Resident Evil 3. And he had it, and he had it for about a week. And I was like, oh, how's the game? And he was like, John, I loved it. Here it is. Here's the game back. And there was just a big slash, like a big cut in the case, right? Where it just cracked, because dual cases used to crack back in the day. And I was like, I looked after my game so pristinely, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? And I knew that I still had his game at home, which was, I've just looked it up, because I can't remember what it's called. Roscoe McQueen, Firefighter Extreme.
I remember this.
That's a fair trade for RE3.
I know, mate. And so I've been playing it. I've been looking after this game like my life depended on it. Somebody else's property, take extra care with it, right? Or you should do.
Of course.
And I got home and I was seething with rage, right? I was furious. And I had a little like rounders bat at home. And I just put the game out onto my bed and beat the fuck out of it. Beat the absolute fuck out of it with this baseball bat. Just absolutely clobbered it until it was cracked all over. And then I went back to the next day and said, oh, sorry about your case, mate. Knowing full well that I had just fucking taken a bat to the fucker. And yeah, and that is by far the pettiest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Do you know what makes it even more petty? Is because you literally had the option of just swap the cases. You could have just slid the paper out and put it in the other case.
He really could have done that.
Today, had you still never thought you could have just done that?
No, that's never entered my mind. The only option,
bat.
The only option is bat. Even now, I'd be like, yeah, it's bat time. Right? Like I'd never think about replacing it.
It would have taken less than a minute to swap those.
I never even remotely considered it as an option.
Wild. You just got so red.
Oh, mate, I was steaming, bro. I was so angry. And especially like RE3, I fucking loved that game. I loved that game so much. And to see it just be there and absolutely wrecked when I looked at my PS1 game so well, just fucking made me so cross. And to this day, my RE3 case down there, the top fell off it in the end because it was so fucked. Like, it wasn't just, it was like so damaged that the top was just gone. Like, it wasn't even like really sitting on there properly. So, fuck, I deserved it.
Was it a genuine mistake, though? A genuine, accident that he broke your case? We believe he didn't do it on purpose, did he, in any way?
No, it would have been an accident.
It was just wear and tear, right? Because those cases, they are brittle, aren't they?
They're fragile as hell.
Like, yeah, I've got some, and I'm really worried to touch them or handle them too much or open them too many times because they do just crack and they do just break. So it could have been a genuine mistake back in the day. And when you're a kid, you kind of, you're a bit rougher with things, I suppose. You don't really understand that people are going to value these items and maybe keep them on their shelves for 20 or 30 odd years like I have. So I feel really sorry for this kid that you've taken. And why have you got a rounder's bat in your room? Were you a little thug back in the day? Carrying weapons?
Sounds like one, mate.
It does.
It was like a Looney Tunes bat, it was. So it was like, I had like a little glove, little ball, and then, and it had just a bat that had like, I don't know, Donald Duck or whatever on it. And yeah, just beat the living shit
Famous
out of
Looney
his
Tune, Donald Duck.
Yeah. Not Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, mate, Daffy. And yeah, beat the absolute living fuck out of it. But yeah, I kind of don't regret it because I never really saw the kid again. Right? I would, going back now, if I put myself back in the same situation, I was so cross. And it was like as if I'm making a statement. Like as if someone borrows my fucking shit, you better return it. Even though he must have known that I've done it on purpose, right? He must have.
Obviously.
But no, we never mentioned it.
Did he ever borrow a game again?
No, did he fuck? No chat. Banned. One and done. Never had someone treat him like that before.
This is why you never got those Move controllers back, Davey. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
You bastards.
Oh, God. Yeah. So that unfortunately just sprung to my mind straight away as soon as I saw this question. But audience, I would love to know what's the pettiest thing you've ever done. Let us know on Twitter, right into the X, at @PSWeTrust, or hit us up on the email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Any way you want to reach out to us, we will appreciate it. And who knows, see if you could be pettier than any of us three. And with that, let's move it on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So guys, it's been 4 weeks since the last podcast episode, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Spence, let's kick it off with yourself. What have you been playing, my dude?
Sure, so I've not really been on my PS5 much this past month, which is a damn shame, but it's the way it goes sometimes. Instead, I've been playing on my PC mostly. So there's a new game that came out maybe like 5 days ago, maybe a week ago, Rivals of Aether 2. And now we always hear about, the Smash killer, or NASB 2 is the Smash killer, Multiverse is the Smash killer. This might be the Smash killer. It's not the Smash killer, but it's really, really good. It's basically Melee, or Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube, but for furries. So there's a few characters, they're all animals, they're all furry things, most of them are women. It's no one's sexualized.
Okay.
But they will be. Give it time. Not officially, but DeviantArt, I'm guarantee is coming. But the game's really good. It's got all the tech from Melee with wave dashing, multi-shines, ledge hogging, all your basic shenanigans. But it's just in a new format with rollback netcode, and everyone loves it. It's got a great rank system where you actually just go from gold, platinum, diamond, master, and it's really good. And it was my life for about 4 days. I absolutely sweated it, and I'm going to sweat it more. It's fantastic.
Oh, wow. Fantastic news. I mean, I've never played Rivals of Aether. I've seen it enough, the original one, and seen people playing it. It just never really appealed to me, I think, just because I'm not really a Melee head. You know what I'm like with Smash, Spence, and you know that I'm very much in the anti-Melee camp, that you have to play a certain way to make the game even fun, because it's just so slow in its normal base form. Do you feel that this game would sing to me, or do you think that it's too much for my kind of taste in platform fighters?
I wouldn't say it's too much. I don't think you'd enjoy it, but it's not like Melee where it's a gatekeeping game. It's a lot easier to pick up than Melee is, and sure, it still has a lot of the same tech inside of it to make it as smooth and fast as it is. None of it is as difficult or as necessary as it is in Melee, but to be good at the game, it is still quite necessary. It's just the game doesn't feel awful if you can't do it.
Right.
So I think it's worth trying out, but I don't think it will be for you.
Might be one of those ones for me that, if I'm ever around or anything like that, or if it's knocking about somewhere and I can try it, maybe then that might be the thing, right? And maybe then, doors start opening and I start slowly becoming infected with this furry version of Melee. I'm quite ashamed, though, or I don't know if ashamed that's probably the wrong use of word. I'm quite disappointed that there's no sexy people. I've seen that whale, and he looks all right. Yeah, the orca dude.
Just a whale.
He's a whale with legs, dude. He's operating everywhere you want him to operate. You know about that? You know about that blowhole action?
I don't know. I just not looked at Orcane and thought, I couldn't tell you, mate. Honestly, no. I just hate that character. So not for me, mate. No.
No. Oh, right. Well, fair enough. How does this sound to you, Phil?
Well, I haven't got a clue what you guys are talking about at all. Whales with legs, furries, not really sure. But Spence, I want to ask you, what sort of got you into this game? Because we know you're a big Smash Brothers fan. Is it that aspect, or is it just that there was furries that potentially could be sexy? And then there's a second part to this question. If one of our viewers, listeners out there does like that type of thing, is attracted to that sort of area, is it easy to get into the game? Is there quite a big community out there that's quite accepting, or is it very difficult to get in unless you're at a certain level of competitive nature?
Okay, so first question, or the first answer. It's not that hard to get into, I don't think, and it's not what got me into it is just I liked Rivals 1. Basically the same game, except now it's 2.5D, it's more of a 3D game. It looks a lot nicer. but the entirety of the Super Smash Bros. Community is playing it. All of them. The last week or so, I've been non-stop grinding with Demon B and Jaman, and we've just been playing all day. And those are two players who do not play Super Smash Bros. Anymore, but they've come back for this. Everyone has. So it's just, you already know everyone who's already playing the game, and it's nice to just play games with your mates. And then, because it's a competitive game in nature, you just kind of want to be good at it, don't you? So that's kind of the big one. But for the second question, getting like how hard is it to get into? It's not hard at all. There's a lot of resources. There's a lot of guides. There's a how to play the game when you boot it up. It's all quite easily explained. But if it is your first platform fighter, I don't think it's a good start. I think you'd much rather be better with Super Smash Bros. Because a lot of people are already insane at this game.
Is there any kind of training modes within Rivals of Ether 2? And is there kind of like a story game for maybe, a newcomer to approach the game? They would play through the story first just to get a few of the moves before they sort of get crushed within the rank system.
Unfortunately not, mate. There's no story. You just got to go straight online. And it's brutal. I would hate to be a newcomer to platform fighters playing this game. Absolutely brutal. But if you do want to play it, I wouldn't say not to, because it is easy enough to learn. But definitely play Smash first, I think, because this game has a high ceiling that a lot of people have already mastered. So you're going to get your ass absolutely whooped online. I'm losing constantly. And it's like I'm playing Call of Duty. I'm livid.
That doesn't sound like a game for me then. Not at all.
Oh.
I'll give this one a wide berth.
As I said, definitely one of those ones that I want to keep an eye on. And especially with how much, seeing the old people back in the community is always something that want to get you, you kind of want to be involved in that push. But I think it's a try before I buy kind of situation, I think, on this one. So moving on, any other games you've been playing, Spence?
There's one other game I've been playing. I've been playing it with two of my friends, Dan and Kyle, the same friends I mentioned when I played For the King. We wrote up a list of kind of nostalgic games we want to beat that at least one of us has never played before. And the first game on that list that we're almost finished with is Silent Hill, the first one on the PS1. Ooh. Now, I didn't buy this because it's an arm and a leg. So I'm emulating it. No haters, please. It might be illegal, but, I'm sure Kyle might own it, in which case we were just playing his copy. It's fine. Oh, and maybe I lent it from Davey. Who knows? Shh. But yeah, emulating it. And so far, it is fucking sick. And I've said this to Dayman and maybe to yourself, Davey. I prefer it to RE1 so far.
Original or remake? RE1.
Remake.
Oh,
wow.
Dude, that's strong.
I've said this. I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, to be fair, I haven't played Remake since, episode 30?
Yeah, since you first ever played. Yeah, since your first real Resi experience, right?
Yeah, and I've not gone back to it to do a hardcore run or anything, and I do want to. So maybe I just need to be reminded. But as it stands currently, I think Silent Hill 1 is so good.
Did you say you got to the end of Silent Hill yet, or are you still working your way through the game?
Still working my way through. I think I've got about 40 minutes to an hour left. I'm on a boat, so not to spoil too much.
Okay. And how do you feel the story's going? Can you talk about that without being too specific? 'Cause I'm sure we don't want to give away too many spoilers, but generally, are you invested on a story level, or is it more the gameplay that's really, dragging you in and maybe pushing this far above a game that we've held in such high regard for a very, very long time?
I wouldn't say far above, but it's holding it above. It's definitely the gameplay for me, for one. I mean, the survival horror genre isn't very, play for the story. It's all mostly there for the gameplay and stuff, I find. Sometimes the story slaps, RE7, or God knows what else. Crow Country.
Dead Space.
Dead Space. Yeah, true. But majority of the time, you don't mind having a subpar story. I wouldn't say this is a subpar story. I'd say the story's really good. But the voice acting is PS1, survival horror, so the voice acting is not amazing. And it's always, have you seen my daughter? And then that is it. It's all he says to anyone. And you hear it so many times where it's like, mate, you're not really even trying. And whenever someone says no, he's just like, oh, fair enough. You could seem to care a bit more. But other than that, it's really good. Story's great. Gameplay's sick. Well, the item management's there isn't really any. And you get so much ammo in this game. Or I found anyway. But it's just brilliant. I'm just really, really loving the pace of it and kind of the whole overworld of Silent Hill being in the fog.
One last question from myself, and then I'll let Davey jump in. And you said you really enjoy the gameplay aspect of this game, but how are you finding the controls? Because I know when we talked about Metal Gear Solid, that was one of the biggest criticisms you had of like an older game and playing like an original PlayStation game with that kind of almost jank control system. If I remember rightly, Silent Hill 1 is pretty rough on the controls. How are you feeling with that?
I think they're fine, which is mad. Okay. I think the controls are actually perfectly fine, but I don't know if that's just I've played a lot of tank controls now, and with my little Miyu Mini by ear, I've now got more experience just playing funky controls on PS1 games. So maybe I'm just used to it now. Because my friends Carl and Dan, they're really struggling to do anything, but I'm just zipping about. I'm quite quick with it. So I don't know. It might just be that I'm used to controls now, but I could understand why they'd be a bit awkward. But I got used to them really quick.
I think for me, I reviewed Silent Hill 1 probably about like 6 months ago now. I think it was. And I was originally planning on doing all the Silent Hill series before I just stepped away from YouTube for a little bit. I'll be back at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that Silent Hill 1 slaps tits, right? It's fucking amazing, actually. I hadn't played it since I was a kid, so going back to it and really experiencing it for the first time as an adult was kind of eye-opening, really, in terms of how different it was from Resident Evil. Now, for my money, I think RE1 slaps the tits out of it. I think the gameplay for RE1 Remake especially is just so good that there's very little, I think, that's kind of better than that. However, the one thing that I loved about Silent Hill was the puzzles. And I really struggled. I got my ass kicked by quite a few of them, especially one with a piano. And that, oh my God, I was on that for hours, dude. How have you found the puzzles? Have you found any struggles so far?
I feel like this is the one thing where I'm kind of falling short on this game. I don't feel like there are many puzzles in Silent Hill 1. And I know there's loads, or there's some good ones in the next area I'm coming to, the amusement park. Not spoil too much. In the areas I've been, there's only really been 2 prominent puzzles, and that was the piano, like you said, and the these colors you put in a door to unlock a door. The colors I worked out immediately. It took less than 2 minutes. Easy ass puzzle. It just tells you the order and you just put them in. It was easy. The piano one took maybe 15 minutes at most. But that was because my friends Dan and Carl were dead set that it had to be the keys that made noise. And I was like, the song's called like Birds with No Voice or something. I'm like, it's obviously the other keys. They're like, no, let me try it. I've got it. And I'd be like, all right. They passed it to me, and I think second try I had it.
Wow.
So I think it was quite easy. But I'm a big fan of the 1% show or 1% club. I like logic puzzles a lot. So I didn't struggle too much. When you did your Tormented Souls playthrough, I think I could have figured out a lot of those that you were struggling with as well.
Yeah, for me, logic is just, in real life, I work on logic, right? I'm like a fucking Vulcan. But then put me in a puzzle, nah, totally out the window. I am absolutely shit when it comes to logic puzzles. And figuring out that piano puzzle, no joke, took me at least an hour, probably 90 minutes. And I figured out the solution fairly quick, right? But actually doing it, I tried so many different fucking stupid variations for I clicked. It has to be the ones without sound. And by that point, I was so confused, and I had so many notes written up, dude. I had a fucking notepad next to me. And yeah, essentially, it was a fucking novel by the time I'd done it, of every single combination. And I broke. I was on the stream, and I broke, and looked it up. And there you go. But I was going to ask you about that. Have you been taking notes as you've been playing? Have you found that's been an essential part of it?
I tell you what, I don't know how much that's going to appear. Let me brighten it a little bit, just for the people watching. That's the only notes I took from that puzzle. So I got the keys, because at first we were trying to figure out the capitalization on the words, thinking it might be the notes. And Dan does music, so we thought we'd give that a go. And then the bottom 4 is just me figuring out which dead keys go where. And that was it. So it's far left, far right black, so the one above it. And then one across from the left. And that took 10 minutes.
Jesus, mate. Have we put you in an escape room yet? Because if we haven't...
No, but we should. We've said we should.
Should do that.
Yeah, you'd be cracked out the arse. No, but well done. I'm glad that you've gone back, and I'm glad that you're enjoying an old school game like Silent Hill. What I would encourage you to do before too long, before the memory fades, is go back and just do a quick rerun of RE1.
I agree.
I really feel like you should, and then you can give. Like, I'm blinded by nostalgia with Resident Evil 1. Like, I'm completely blinded with it, and I'll admit that. Like, it's been my favorite one since I played it back on the GameCube back in like 2002 or whatever it was. It's been my favorite Resident Evil. I don't think anything will ever top it, no matter how good it is. So I can't give a fair assessment on this. It would be like, a new Metal Gear coming out. Of course, Metal Gear 1's always going to clear, right? It'd be interesting to know if you still feel the same after, because they are very different in the way that they play.
They are, yeah.
And RE1's definitely got a lot more puzzles than 2. So yeah, be interesting. One to put on the agenda, mate, on the never-ending backlog.
Yeah, I've been thinking I'll do them recently. So I think I'll probably do it before next episode. I might start RE1.
Oh, there you go. Love to hear it.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, probably not.
See. And so what about yourself, Mr. Hoy? What have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Well, I'm the same as Spencer. I haven't really been playing a lot. It's been quite nice to have a break from you guys, and kind of a break from gaming. I've just been doing a lot of real life stuff, which is strange. I've been out and touched this thing called grass. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Grass? I know it from Horizon. Is it the same stuff in real life?
Yeah, it's like green and can be wet and can be dry, a little bit spiky. You should definitely get out and try it, guys. I highly recommend. And I hear you can smoke it as well. I haven't been doing that.
Same.
Anyway, what I have been doing, I have been playing a little game called Space Marine 2. So that's the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. So this is your third-person shooter hack and slash video game developed by Saber, published by Focus Entertainment, and was released on the 9th of September 2024. So this game came out, it was highly anticipated by myself because I loved the original back on the PS3, and every time we got a little nugget of information about this, I lapped it up. So I couldn't wait to play this game. Now, I banged it in my PlayStation. I've only been playing for a short amount of time, but I've managed to complete the story, so that was 8 hours, and I've been playing 4 hours kind of doing the multiplayer stuff, and it comes in 2 flavors, okay? So you've got your PvP, which is your 3 competitive modes of 6v6. So you've got Annihilation, which is Team Deathmatch. You've got Seize Ground. You've got Capture and Control. Okay, but this stuff is fairly basic and very reminiscent, as I said, I think when we were playing it previously, of kind of older multiplayer games, okay? Very much feels like a PS3 game with far, far superior graphics and controls, okay? It's not that fun. I only like it because I love Warhammer games and I'm kind of really enjoying it, but I know I shouldn't because there's far better multiplayer games out there to play. But hey, I've spent a few hours in it and I've had some chuckles, had a few laughs, and I've leveled up a few of my characters to get little items that you can bang on the Space Marines, which I'm enjoying. The part which we've been enjoying, because we have played a little bit together, haven't we, guys? We played the PvE, so this is the operations. And this is where it gets a little interesting, because this is where 3 of us, as we did, team up, and this is versus the computer. And basically, it plays through a bunch of complementary missions to the main story, just to fill in some of the gaps. So as you play the story, you see other Space Marines going off on missions or operations, and then you get to play through those operations. But these operations are slightly different to the main story in the sense that there's lots of waves of enemies over and over and over again, and you can quite quickly find yourself overwhelmed by the amount of Tyranids that are coming at that arse. And we found that a lot, didn't we, boys? It gets incredibly difficult, incredibly fast. But I think a lot of it is down to us, because we walked in there, Barry Big Bollocks, as we do, right? I've got the 2 goats with me. Of course, we're going to put it on a much higher level than we think we should, or we definitely should have, right? And yeah, we just got annihilated. Frame 1, walked in, first wave, boom. Those Imperial Guards did not help us. We just got wiped. And we kept going. And we thought we were kind of in that remnant kind of Souls-like area where, we'll overcome this. We'll overcome those odds. But definitely not. Davey, I think you did a bit of side reading. And even in the advice from the official Saber and Focus Entertainment, they were like, no, start at the bottom and work your way up. Instead of starting at the top and just dying a lot. Because that's what we did. Over and over again.
We did, yeah. And I suppose it's important to preface this. I bought the game last week, so I came back from New York on the Sunday or whatever it was, and we organised we get together on the Thursday. So I was like, right, I'll buy it. Spence can then use my copy. We can just dive in. And Phil had been talking, saying, it's easy, right? The game's easy. So naturally, you think, right, well, let's fucking pump this fucker up. Let's see what we got. No, absolutely not.
Please.
No, God. It was fucking solid. Yeah. The amount of teamwork that we were having to do and the amount of communication just to get past. And it's one of those things where I get a bit stubborn. And I was thinking, like, after the third attempt or fourth attempt, somebody chirped up and they're like, maybe we should consider lowering it down. I'm like, no, we fucking got this. We should talk better. We should do this better. We should do this better. And by like the 10th attempt, and we'd gotten slightly further kind of every time, yeah, I looked it up, and yeah, we definitely should lower it down, lads.
There was small progression, and I think that's what spurred us on, because we just wanted to stand together. We wanted to stand together, brothers, and fight those Tyranids, and we were getting further and further on. So it kind of felt quite Souls-like in a way. I'm not big into that genre, but I'd imagine that's what it felt like. You get further every time you play, and you see progression in your play style. You learn the rotations of the enemies, and you get better as you play more. But no, it's definitely not the way to play this game. So I think next time we have a session, we might start a little lower, probably not on the most basic of settings, but we'll start a lot lower than where we have been. Because as I said, I played 8 hours of the story, and I was a little worried because I've been bigging up this game, and it is fantastic. It looks absolutely beautiful. It sings on the PS5, and I can't wait to see what it's going to look like on my PS5 Pro in a couple of weeks. It's going to look incredible, by the way. But I was just, as I said, I was just a little worried because I knew you guys were going to buy it, and I know you guys like hard games. Now, this game actually being quite easy kind of speaks to me in a way, because it's not really about it being difficult within the main story. It's about the story, it's about the spectacle, it's about everything else that goes on within this game. And I very much was picking up on all that. And I was a little worried that, Davey, you'd be wasting your 50 or 60 pounds because the game wouldn't be a challenge for you. But I'm very glad that those operations are a challenge. And if you ever want a challenge, we just higher up the difficulty. I'm sure if we played the story on a much higher difficulty, it would be as solid as the operations have been. So yeah, this game can be challenging. Just if basically you just turn up the settings.
Turn up the settings and totally underleveled. And those two things. So apparently what I was reading is that we need to get to at least level 5 on all of our classes, because then you actually unlock all the abilities they do. So we're going in there with like no abilities, hardly any ammo, all these things, right? And fighting things that are like way stacked up for like a level 25 and it's a level 0. So it's like everything's being thrown at us at the worst. And I'm just sorry I put you guys through that, even though I had a fucking right laugh with it and I love my time with it. So I'll be looking forward to returning. Now, Spence, you are certainly not a Warhammer guy, but how did you find the experience on the night? Has it started to convert you?
I'll tell you what, I was scared I wasn't going to like it. It was going to be too easy. But then when I played through the tutorial, it was just a fun hack and slash. And I was like, if I'm playing this with my mates, I think I'll have a great time, even if it is easy. And then we did the operations, and I was like, fuck me. This is mental. It was literally like we were playing Remnant. It was so difficult. But us not giving up made it so fun, especially when we'd just die and just be like, Phil, please. We just had to try it, and it was class. I'm glad that it was actually difficult, because I think us actually getting through it is going to feel like a good accomplishment now. And I'm excited to play more, even though I don't really care for the story. It is a beautiful game, and the animations are cool. So I don't care about the story. I'll just enjoy playing it with you boys.
When we first joined in, it was quite nice to actually be the one that was lasting the longest. But I wasn't able to res you guys at any point because there was no way back through that swarm. So what would happen, listeners, is that we would run in. I started off as the heavy, and we actually got quite far within our first sort of play of one of the operations, because Davey and Spence, obviously, they went charging in with like the thunder hammer and the more melee orientated flavors of the Marines, and I stood back shooting all the Tyranids, and we got a little bit into the game. We thought, yeah, this is enjoyable, but then the two guys got wiped, and then I couldn't overcome the melee Tyranids because I was a heavy. You know, he's got no hand-to-hand combat weapons. He just has to hit them with the Storm Bolter, I think it was, or the Heavy Bolter I was using at the time. But the next time we played it, we got wiped straight away because I went the melee class and I had no cover fire. So you have to think about your team structure, especially at those harder difficulties, because I think there's 6 different versions, I might be wrong, 5 or 6 different versions of the Marines, which if you put them together in the wrong order, in the wrong synergy, you're going to come out, you know, blood and guts, and you're not going to last very long. If you have someone who has the melee, someone who has a bit of a shield, someone who can put down a bit of firepower, you can definitely get a bit of synergy going and progress a little further. But what I was going to say about this game, because it's rolling on a little bit, I've got a score for you guys. I think that's a good way to end my section, okay? So Space Marine 2 got 81 on the Metacritic, and not to rub it in, Davey, it did give me 11 points on the fantasy, so I have edged a little further away from you, and we are getting pretty close to the end of the year, and I'm sure we'll do a roundup of that either partway through the show or maybe in a future show. But my score, it mirrors that. It is a solid 8 out of 10 of a game, but with the caveat that I am a massive Warhammer fan, so I was going to love it anyway, but I just really enjoyed the story, really enjoyed that there is some online content, but even better that there's some hard online content that we can all play together, and games that are 3-player co-op is quite rare. Remnant is one that we've referenced a few times throughout this little back and forth, and this very much sits in that category, especially at the higher difficulties. It's just a solid, fun, old school hack and slash shooter, which looks absolutely gorgeous on the PS5, and as I said, cannot wait to play some of this on the PS5 Pro in a couple of weeks.
Nice. Well, I'll be very much up for revisiting it really, really well. So I'll look forward to informing the audience as me, Spence, and you, we storm through either the operations or the campaign, Spence, if you're up for doing that with me, and we'll just blast it. I'm well looking forward to it. But to round this out, there's one game that has taken over my life, and that is, of course, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So I am 30 hours into playing this game over the last week or so. Bear in mind, I was away from New York for a week.
This is the real reason we didn't see you. You didn't go to New York, did you? It's all AI photos on his Facebook of him in New York. Oh, look, the Statue of Liberty. Oh, look, the Twin Towers. They don't exist anymore. He's just Googled a photo and he's just plonked himself in front of it, and he's been playing Sparking Zero. I've caught you, mate.
Oh, man, I tell you what, this game, if there was anything I could dedicate my life to, it would probably be Sparking Zero right now. It is so fucking fun. And do you know what? It's wild how big the learning curve is with this game. I'm still learning stuff with it now. And I swear, on like PS2 when I was playing them, I figured it all out pretty much straight away. Or that's how I remember it. It probably wasn't. But right now, every single time that I play, I either figure out a new combo extension, a different, better way to be able to block, a way to mix it up. And the computer has been fucking going to town on me. So there's a big thing that happened on the internet when this first kind of came out. And it was that everyone had a realization that they're shit. Because you fight Great Ape Vegeta and he is a fucking wall. He is a fucking steep learning curve that you do not understand the way this game plays, and he bodied my ass. And the only way I got past him was by totally cheesing it. So I ran away from him for the entire fight. And obviously, as we know from the lore of Dragon Ball, Vegeta at that point can't sense power levels, right? Without his scouter. And so you can kind of hide behind a rock. He'll lose you, and I'd pop out and just throw a Kamehameha, and then fuck off again and just run. And that's the only way I beat this guy. Flash forward 30 hours later, I dominate the CPU. Like, absolutely fucking body the CPU. And what I've been enjoying doing is that I've done now, at this point, I've done all the different campaigns. So there's, I think, about 8 campaigns. So, you got Goku's obviously got the longest one, Vegeta second, Gohan, Piccolo. But then you got ones for Frieza, Goku Black, Jiren, and they've got like all different what if scenarios that happen. So when you go into a battle, for a Goku, for example, you may have one where instead of going off with Piccolo right at the start to go take on Raditz, you say, no, I don't want to team up with you, Piccolo. I still think you're a bad guy. I'm going to team up with Krillin. So you take Krillin along with you, and then it's how that story unfolds. And it's the little things that change that then maybe Goku unlocks, Krillin gets killed, and you unlock Super Saiyan in the Saiyan saga. And those kind of things, and how that would change the story. And it's really, really clever. And one of the ones I really enjoyed that I've done recently is with Frieza. If you manage to defeat Vegeta and Goku in the Resurrection of F story, you manage to wipe them out without taking really any damage, then Frieza just wins the day. And Beerus is like, no, don't kill the Saiyans, don't destroy the planet, because it's where I get ice cream. So don't destroy the planet. And he's like, fine, well then, will you stand in my way if I make a wish for the dragon? And he's like, no. And he's like, right, I want to wish for the Frieza Force to return. And so he wishes for them back. So then you get to the Tournament of Power, and Frieza's the most powerful person there, so he gets to assemble his team. So I went into the Tournament of Power with the fucking Ginyu Force, boys. And that is class. You get to see, like, the Ginyu Force outposing the Pride Troopers and how that all works. And it's like all these cool little things that they've really just taken extra steps for fans of Dragon Ball, that they'll get a level of appreciation out of it. And I've just been really, really enjoying that content. But I'm now at the end of all the campaigns, and I'm on the final run of things for the Platinum, which is just a case of running, I think, 30 of these custom battles, which are like battles that the developers have made, where as you play it, it plays out like a Dragon Ball episode. So it might be that when you get Vegeta down to a certain level, he then transforms into Majin. And then it might be a case that if you die, somebody gives you a Senzu Bean, you come back, and it like all plays out with cutscenes. So I've got 30 of these to experience, which are really nice, and the community have made them as well. So you can play loads of different what-ifs that the community have really put loads of time into. And then I've just got to go online and do 100 ranked games. And I've done 4 so far for ranked games. And fucking hell, I tell you what, it is sweaty, bro. It is sweaty. It's so sweaty. You go in and you can either go for a single battle, which where you can pick anyone. So like you could go in there with Ultra Instinct Goku and somebody else might be Yajirobe, right? And that's fucking so unfair. It's unbelievable, right? Like Ultra Instinct Goku will just dodge on his own. So you don't have to do anything. You just can't get hit as long as you got Ki. Whereas Yajirobe's got 2 health bars and a fucking hope and a prayer, right? That's it. So it's completely unbalanced by design. But in the team mode, you've got a max score of 15 that you can take into a team battle, and each character's got their own score rating. So it's like so Ultra Instinct Vegeta might be, or Ultra Instinct Goku might be 7, so he takes up half your skill point. Yajirobe might be a 1, and you can make up to 5 players to go in. And so I've been running what I call Team Cheese, which is I run everyone who can self-destruct and then Captain Ginyu. So all I've been doing so far is running in, bodying them. As soon as the tables start turning, I'm taking them with me. And I self-destruct, and then the final clutch person is Ginyu. So as soon as I start getting mollied and I start getting blasted around everywhere, I let it happen. And then change, no! Body swap. And then I got a full health bar. They're 1 hit away from death and just get the win. And I've had so many messages on PSN already. Being like, fuck you, man. Yeah. And it's been making my day. Every time I get a Ginyu swap, I'm saving that shit. And I'm like, yes! I swapped with a Goku Black the other day. And that was like the best moment ever. And you can't do anything when you body swapped. Really, you can't really do anything, but you've got all their health and you still hit hard as fuck. So it's like everything's good. But yeah, it's been brilliant. It's a proper love letter to Dragon Ball fans.
It's quite cool the way you have the selection of characters, but it does remind me of those annoying clickbait things that go around X at the moment, where they're like, "You've got a $5. Which video games are you going to buy from this list? Resident Evil's £2, Silent Hill's £1. How many?" Like, it is that way to select the characters, but that works out quite well. Are you finding that's a bit more balanced than maybe just selecting any character versus any character then, Davey?
Oh, 100%. I mean, because of how crazy the scaling is and the difference. You know, like if you're a Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, you got like 7 health bars, you know, and you like a basic combo where hit for 10,000, which is a health bar, right, without really doing anything. Whereas, you know, if you're pulling out fucking Hercule, he punches them and they don't even move, bro. So it's like he's got 2 health bars. So, you know, but he's only 1 point. So he could be there as the proper anchor, you know, so he could be your 5th person. He's only 1 point, he is. So it does add a lot more to it. I haven't really gone into the singles yet because I imagine everyone's going to be, you know, Jiren or Ultra Instinct or Fusions. But no, it is cool. And, you know, if you've got characters like you have Goku and Vegeta on a team, you could, if you wanted to, you could make them fuse in the middle of the fight. And it would, you know, you'd lose a health bar of a character, but you'd immediately just have a fusion to rock with. So you've got options to play with. And I do like it. And it's been a good bit of fun playing this game. I think if anybody wasn't a Dragon Ball fan, this game's not going to, you know, it's not going to bring you back. But in terms of when I look back to my experience when I played it as a kid, the biggest improvement I think from this compared to the old ones is just how much extra depth there is. So there's the game is fundamentally is counters the game, because everything you do you can counter or teleport behind somebody else to hit them, whereas they can then do that to you. So it becomes this big thing and there's like 4 different counters for 4 different things that you can do. So it just becomes this big kind of guessing game about trying to read your opponent's counter and overcoming that with your own. And it becomes really intense. You're like teleporting all over the place, fighting. And the camera system is just fucking works. Whereas back in the day, the camera system would be a bit loopy, right? It would start going all over the place. They fixed that. And I think they've made it the best version of a Tenkaichi Budokai that there's ever been. I think it's easily the best one. And if you don't like those games, you're not going to like this. But for someone like yourself, Spence, you've got to fucking get on this, mate. Like, hours of your life gone on this. It's fun, dude. It's really fucking fun.
At some point I will, just not right now, I think. I need to wait. It just doesn't seem like 70 quid for me at the minute. It's just a lot of money. I just need to wait for it to come down a bit. Then I'm sure if I had it, I'd absolutely adore it. But it's just other stuff. I still haven't beat Alan Wake 2, man. I got so much stuff to do. So in the future, maybe I'll come around and try it over yours and be like, fuck, I need this.
Yeah.
And that might be the moment. But until then, I'm happy to sit on it for a minute.
It's definitely one of those ones that when you guys are around for us to record the big quiz, like we could play it and it's like you can just mash, right? And you can have a really load of fun with it. And, you know, it's only if somebody who's getting sweaty or whatever that it starts to rank up quite a bit and there's a bit more depth. The final thing I'll say to kind of close this off is that there's petitions kind of going around that people are saying this should be included at Evo. No. Absolutely fucking no way. Right? This game does not belong in the same category as Evo. The combo system is squares and triangles. That's it. Like, as long as you can do that, you can play this game. It's not that kind of level, and it's not designed to be a hardcore fighting game. It's a fun arena brawler, and that's all it is. But Phil, you are a Dragon Ball fan. Have you got any interest in picking up Sparking Zero?
I think it's one of those things when we all get together. I think it'd be a bit of fun, but I'm not on the same level as you when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, so I think a lot of the minutiae within the story and you obsessing about the what ifs, right? I somewhat enjoy the what ifs when it comes to Marvel, and I know a lot more about Marvel than I do Dragon Ball Z, so I think a lot of that probably be quite lost on me. But I think great game when you come around, or I'm over yours to do the big quiz, but maybe a little bit of a miss to buy as a solo game, I think.
Fair enough. Well, the final thing I'll close this out on is my rating for this game. I feel like I can definitely rate it, being 30 hours in. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And the reason why I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 is because it's fundamentally, as good as it is, it's always just going to be a Dragon Ball game for Dragon Ball fans. And I think if it was on the rating system of it just being that, it would be a perfect 10, because I think it achieves everything it needs to do. But in terms of gaming overall, I can't give it any higher than an 8 out of 10. But fundamentally, a fantastic game, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. Next week, that we record in 2 weeks' time, I will have the platinum for this and Mr. Mosquito, because that has been ticking off. But I wanted to give, before we bring it on, the final piece of this. I was tasked, when I went on my travels, on taking the Portal with me.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
you did it.
Yeah.
I did. And so, let's play the theme. Want to know, lads? What do you want to know? What stage of the journey do you want to know how this went? Because I tried it at every single stage.
I want to know how it was on the plane, because I've tried it in a different country. I've never played it on the plane, and plane Wi-Fi is pretty terrible. But you were telling us a couple of weeks back that you were playing on your phone's Wi-Fi, or I think you were away camping and it was very terrible Wi-Fi, and you were still able to play not a full experience, but like a lesser game on the PlayStation. Were you even able to do that while flying? That's my question.
Well, this could be the issue of British Airways. I don't know, but basically impossible to even connect.
Okay.
Like impossible, dude. It couldn't find the Wi-Fi service on there for about 3 hours of the flight, and then when it did, it couldn't even connect properly. It would just search for the PlayStation and just never go anywhere. So that was a total no-go. The first stage I tried it was on the National Express coach to go down, because that has a Wi-Fi router on it as well, to try to go down to Gatwick. Impossible. Absolutely fucking impossible. No way. Did not like it at all. So I was feeling a bit gutted because I've been carting around my Portal all day and wasn't able to use it. I then got to the hotel and I connected over hotel Wi-Fi. It connected. And at first, I thought, fucking hell, this is fine, right? And I got games on there that I had specifically installed to take with me on the Portal, but I had Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Fever, right? And I was like, I'm going to play Sparking Zero. It was possible to play. I was able to do it. Downside is... enjoyable's a strong word. The difference was, right, that for it to play smooth, it was being shown to me at like 240p. So it was like just seeing a muck of pixels. Thank God that I wasn't fighting, Krillin as Goku, because they're both wearing orange. I'd have been fucked. Fortunately, I was fighting Frieza. So, he's just white and purple. So I could tell who was Goku in this scenario. And it was playable much fucking harder just because of the latency that's there from that distance. You didn't really notice it too much, but as the game is about reacting to what their opponent is doing and you pressing R1 to teleport, that became basically impossible. So it was doable, albeit not a great experience. And I'd say it definitely is. You can take it with you, and if you pick the right games for it, you can make it work. So I would say, yes, you can take it with you. I will caveat by saying every single time I booted it up, and it's the first time I've had this experience with the Portal, I thought to myself, why the fuck is this just a streaming device? And I haven't had that thought since I bought it, right? I've just enjoyed it just working. It's been the first time that I was like, this is just fundamentally not good. in comparison to what it could be. I played it because I had nothing else to do, but if I had had my Switch with me, that would have been much better.
Damn.
Yeah. Any other questions, lads, or thoughts? Or are we just going to end it on that somber little dunk down on the Portal, even though I love it?
Well, unfortunately, we kind of all thought that was probably going to be the experience. And from other kind of reviews that we'd read, it was all along the same lines. I think we just had our fingers crossed that it might just work for you, that you would be on the plane playing Sparking Zero, because that would have been epic. And I very much would have taken my PlayStation Portal over to the States when I go in December. But thanks for that little review, because that saved me taking that. I'll just take my Steam Deck instead.
Much better option.
Way better.
Yeah, much better option. 100%, mate. Well, there you go, listeners. I hope you found that useful. Sorry for it to be a bit of a somber end, but let's pick it up because we're going into quick news. Quick news.
Quick news. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers, to Quick News. You have made it through to the best part of the show. This is the part of the show where we introduce 6. Well, actually, we've got a lot more. We've got 9. We've got an extended episode for you today. So we've got 9 articles from around the PlayStation Nation to introduce to you. But we're going to spice things up as we always do on MPS We Trust. We like to play a little game called Categories, where we go round in a circle, naming an item from a category. And if someone stumbles, if someone forgets, or if someone repeats from a previous section of this quiz, then they get a black mark against their name, and that all adds up, and whoever's the loser will get an extra shot in the dock for whenever the hell we do the big quiz, because we should have done one by now, because this is episode 101 now, boys. We're already over the 100, so it just means whenever we do said big quiz, there's a lot more shots to go around. Okay, Spence, I'm going to come over to yourself first, and then it's going to go around to Davey, then back to myself. And the first category of tonight is makes of mobile phones.
Ooh, Samsung.
Motorola.
Apple.
Huawei.
LG.
Nokia.
Sony.
Ooh,
Blackberry.
Google.
Nothing.
Yep, that's acceptable.
Give me no. Fucking
Give me 10 minutes.
Yeah, give me a long time. Nokia. Oh,
Didn't I say Nokia?
You might have done.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I wouldn't have mattered anyway.
I would have thought you go Sony. We're on a PlayStation podcast.
I said Sony.
Someone
you
said
said
Sony.
Okay,
Yeah.
OnePlus. You know, there's a bunch out there.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
BlackBerry was good. We haven't had one of those in a long time, have we?
Yeah, BlackBerry
Do they
was a
still
good
go?
answer.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not like they used to be. They're just touchscreen phones now.
Oh, lost their niche.
Quick news. So the first bit of news we have for this section is about a little show coming to Amazon Prime at some point. God of War, the TV series. There's a bit of news about it. So the executive producers have left. So the whole series is starting from scratch. What a shock. This seems to be the thing that happens lately. What is it that's Blade? Is it Blade that's had another director change just the other day?
No, Blade hasn't Blade just got canned completely. Marvel's just wiped it off the roadmap. And normally when that happens in Marvel, you never hear from it again. They don't say it's got canned officially. They just never mention it again. So Blade's got cancelled.
Well, that's even worse. But for God of War, yeah, we just had the executive producers leave. What do you boys think about this? Obviously, we haven't seen anything about this yet. So this isn't really much to go off. But I think it's a very poor start. How do you boys feel? Phil, what about you?
Well, I'm quite happy when I read this news, because God of War is arguably Sony's biggest IP. It's the most popular. It's the most interesting. You know, like whenever we do anything about God of War, generally our episodes bang, okay? if we sort our episodes, we've got the Xbox podcast that we did a bit of a chat about, and that's our number one, actually, that most people have viewed that one. But after that, it's our reactions to the launch of God of War. So I'm hopeful that, they release a lot more God of War stuff, just being very selfish. And of course, we like them, or I like the more modern games. But when it comes to a TV show, I think they really need to, get this right. They don't want it to come out and be shit. There's a lot of IPs that have been sort of mishandled over the last, 5-10 years since they've been doing movies and TV adaptations of video games. And it's spoilt it, really. A lot of the very much beloved series, which we do, and we can't mention them in this part of the show, have been dog shit because they've just rushed them out and just tried to make money off the back of an IP. Now, Sony are obviously doing this because it's God of War. It's going to make a lot of money regardless if it's good or bad, but I want it to be good. I really do want it to be good. So I'm quite happy that they're starting from scratch with this. They're taking it back to basics, and they've got rid of something that they didn't feel was right at the time. I like this news. I'm welcoming it. I don't mind if this takes another 5-10 years to actually come out. I'm in no rush to see a God of War TV show. I want it to be good when it comes out, so I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, I got to follow up on your points there, Phil. 100%. I completely agree with you. I think that the news itself is that the executive producers and the showrunner has left, right? Which means that, it's going to start again. And from reading into this news, it was stated that there'd be multiple scripts submitted and Sony wasn't happy with them. And ultimately, Sony have put Cory Balrog...
Where's my fight money?
I was thinking of the enemy from Lord of the Rings, the Balrog.
Oh, the Balrog.
Yeah. Let me find his name now. Cory Balrog, isn't it? Cory Balrog. Yeah, Cory Balrog. So when I was looking into this news, it's the executive producers and the showrunner that's left, but Sony has put on Sony has. Oh my god. Fuck me. But Sony has put on Cory Balrog to be able to go and lead this through. And I don't know why I'm calling him Balrog, but now I'm just going to call him Balrog. That's now his name now. So Cory, of course, famously fought Gandalf in the Mines of Moria, and then went on to work on God of War. But anyway, the point is that Sony weren't happy with the scripts that were being submitted, and they had Cory on staff as the executive producer to be able to oversee them and make sure that it's doing right by the series. And if there's one thing that Sony have nailed with The Last of Us TV show, is that having a creative from the video games world be really key to signing off on these things. Make sure that you protect your business, you protect your IP. And with how well they've done with The Last of Us, they need to do exactly the same amount of care for Kratos. And it's going to be a lot harder to be able to tell that story in like an 8-episode season or whatever than it will do for something like The Last of Us, which is very just, there's no kind of freedom in a sense for The Last of Us. It's very much a linear story, right? And God of War, you can go off and do little bits and bobs. You've got a lot of like kind of side questy stuff, a lot of like kind of fetchy stuff that you don't need to include as part of the story. But how do you kind of cut that down and summarize it into like an 8-hour experience for something that is like a 30 or 40 odd hour game? So it's a lot harder for them to be able to do it, I believe. And I would rather them get it right rather than stumble out the gate like you were saying, Phil.
Tell you what, I absolutely completely agree with you boys. Mostly with you, Phil, whereas I'm in no rush for this. It being delayed and it being, like you said, Davey, where the reason for it suffering as much as it is so far is because they want to keep it true to what it should be. Brilliant. That's completely fine. The only thing that bugs me about it a bit is that it's Prime rather than HBO, which I just find weird because HBO like nailed Last of Us so well, and they're such good with kind of like big monsters and mythological beasts from like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I'm sure Prime can do it well, but I'm surprised they didn't try to go to HBO first. But I'm not sure the reason for that. But other than that, yeah, I don't really mind.
It could have been just like a bid in war, couldn't it? And they go out to the studios and they say, right, well, here's our projects, what do you want? And then, Peacock gets
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal, that's the one. And HBO gets The Last of Us. Prime are killing it, man. Fallout, really, really good on Prime. The Boys,
Invincible.
Yeah, they kill it. So I don't have any warning signs going off. If it's Netflix, I'm always like, oh, like Netflix can bang. Like Stranger Things, one of the best things ever on TV, in my opinion. But they're a little bit more hit and miss, as opposed to like Prime and HBO, which seem to deliver really good content pretty consistently.
They did a really good job with Vikings because they took over that series, I believe. I'm just reading on the Wikipedia from season 6 from the History Channel. And everything after that was really, really good. It was a beloved series of mine back in the day. I watched every season that's come out with Vikings. And if they're good at Vikings, it's not too much of a jump to move that into the world of Kratos, is it?
No, I suppose not, to be fair. I don't. It's not that I don't think Prime can do it well. It's just I assumed HBO would be a more obvious choice. But I do think Prime will do a good job with it. I'm excited to see it, but I'm not desperate to see it. Same as you boys, I guess. It'll come when it comes. Moving on. Round 2, yourself, Davey. My category is going to be Disney princesses.
Okay. Cinderella.
Jasmine.
I was going to say that. She's so bad. Snow White.
Ariel.
Mufasa.
I'm
not good on Disney. I'll be honest. The amount of times I've been to Disneyland, the Disney princesses haven't really made it into my autograph book, unfortunately. I was much more of a, Mickey Mouse and Goofy. Yeah, I was never in the Disney castle dressing up as a princess. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, I'd been rubbing up against them and getting those autographs, bro. I reckon.
I'd have asked for an autograph. Rubbing up against them's mad.
When you were a kid, you could get under that dress probably, and they'd be like, "Oh,
you could, yeah,
kid."
easy
But,
as well.
You got that mind, you got that dog in him from the off, bro.
Got that dog in him. The dad's there just going, "Go on, son.
Go on, that's my boy.
Take the camera."
He's like, "Why is Mufasa in a dress?"
Take the camera. Oh Christ! Quick news. So, lads, the hotly anticipated, and I say that completely sarcastically, game Until Dawn Remake came out a few short weeks ago, and it has not gone off to a good start. Now, I love Until Dawn, full disclosure, I absolutely adore it. But when this remake was announced, I can't think of anything less that I'm interested in. The original play is absolutely fine. There was no reason for this. I say this for loads of different remasters, but this one in particular just felt like a bit of a goose, really. Like, I just did not want to fuck with it at all. And it turns out the general public agrees with that sentiment, as I'm on TrueTrophies.com and they put out an article which is Until Dawn's PS5 debut is 28% weaker than Sony's disaster Concord. Now, I love Concord, so I don't like seeing it in that fucking context, but it paints a good idea for the numbers. Now, what they've said is, and I was reading through this article and I was thinking, okay, you're stouting all these different things off here, saying that it's 28.6% smaller than Concord. The PlayStation Studios horror game saw 98.5% fewer players than The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. The small pool of PS5 players could be down to the lack of marketing. Saying this, and I'm thinking, well, where the fuck are you getting these numbers from? So, let me just tell you. So, using gameplay data sample from over 3.1 million active PSN accounts, courtesy of our partnership with Game Insights, which draws the majority of its PSN data from the sources beyond True Trophies, we were able to track the debut player count of every new PS5 and PS4 game released throughout the year. Now, in terms of the top 10 list, have a guess what's number 1? Top 10 single-player PS5 game of 2024 so far. What do you reckon is number 1?
Exclusively single player.
A single player PS5 game. Doesn't have to be exclusive to PlayStation, but it's a single player game.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. I backed that. Hogwarts Legacy.
Last year that one was.
Oh.
Wasn't it? That was released.
That could still be the most played this year. Is it only games released this year?
Yeah, for games released this year.
What was bloody released? I've not played anything that got released this year, man. Silent Hill 2.
put you out of your misery. It was The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. How wild is that? Number 2, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Number 3, FF7 Rebirth. 4, Black Myth Wukong. 5, Dragon's Dogma 2. 6, Astrobot. So that's really blasted up there, for such a short time since its release. 7, Stellar Blade. 8, Dave the Diver, since that came onto PSN only this year. 9, Rise of the Ronin, which is a mega surprise. And number 10, Persona 3 Reload. That's what they're saying. Now, what do you feel about this, guys? I mean, it's pretty fucking wild to me, these figures. What are you thinking, Spence?
The top 10 list is a surprise. The Until Dawn debuting as weak as it has. Come on. A remake is typically for games that, one, need it, which most remakes at the moment aren't being used in that purpose, weirdly. Every remake right now seems to be because something else is happening with that IP. So Last of Us gets remakes because the show's coming out. What else we even got? That might be my only example at the minute, actually.
Horizon?
But it's
Horizon? There's loads of projects for Horizon coming out, aren't they?
There we are, yeah. And there's rumours or there's speculations for God of War. But with the TV show coming out, loads of stuff that's happening with, and we're getting all the wrong remakes. But those games are at least somewhat replayable, especially these years later. I don't think Until Dawn is the kind of game that people really revisit upon completion. And remakes typically should be those kind of games that you can revisit whenever you want. Until Dawn just isn't that. Even though, sure, it's got multiple endings and multiple different ways the story can go, people did all of those. No one's going back to Until Dawn. I'm just surprised they even thought it was a good idea, but obviously it's because the Until Dawn movie's happening. And they thought, let's do the game as well. It's probably minimal effort. Chuck it out. And it'll buff the movie, or the movie will buff the game, or vice versa. But this isn't a surprise at all so far, I think. Because it's not the kind of game that should be remade.
Really, really good points. What about yourself, Mr. Hoy? Where are you coming down on this one?
Very similar to Spence, because I'm not sure what they were expecting. Did they think they had a bit of a sleeper hit on their hands with this one? Looking back at the previous figures for Until Dawn, did they think we're just going to revisit those huge figures again? It's going to even get better. More people will be into our IP now because it's somewhat established. I'm not sure on that one. It's not a big name within the horror genre, at least for me. Outside the big two, which would be Silent Hill and the sort of games that cannot be mentioned, horror games don't really draw that much attention. Maybe Dead Space struggled when it did its remake, didn't it? The game you guys really enjoyed, and I'm yet to play. I've actually bought it and really do want to play it. But outside the sort of hardcore of the horror enthusiasts, I think the horror genre does struggle a little bit. So I'm not sure what they were expecting, really. But yeah, Spencer's bang on. They're just releasing remakes just to complement other things and promote other things. And with this, I just dislike it from the off because it was a diss on Concord, really. But it does show how weak it actually was, because that's pretty damn weak. 28% weaker. Wow. Did they sell any?
It's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely mad. I think for me, the things that could have saved this is having, it's a full price game. Why didn't they just have an upgrade path for this? Just be like a $5 or something. And then who knows? Maybe I love Until Dawn. I absolutely love it. But for me, changing it so that it's not fixed camera angles and putting it so that it's behind the player and making these changes are not changes that I want. Do I really need that? Graphical fidelity, sure. I mean, I guess you can improve that. Cool. Maybe if I play that through with Karen, that's an improvement. But it's not as if enough time's gone past for me to really crave to want to play through this game again. Sure, it came out in PS4, and we've had games that have come out later than this that have been remade, i.e. Last of Us 2, for example. But you can at least see what you can do with the triggers and ways that they can improve that from a gameplay perspective with The Last of Us 2. And they add in an extra cool-ass mode, right? Until Dawn's just exactly the same as it was. There's just no incentive to get the existing player base back, which is what you would need to be able to at least bring this up to a good standard. And if it's not grabbing mine and your attention, Spence, when we've played this game through, warning bells should be going off there at that point. And unfortunately, I don't think they did enough market research into this. And they probably should have just said, right, let's just forge ahead with Until Dawn 2. Because at least then it would have got everyone back. Whereas now they've just kind of sullied it a little bit for no real reason.
Did they not add any further endings or any more content with this remaster?
No, they just changed the camera angles on it and made it so it runs a little bit better. Although apparently it still can't run over 30.
Well, that's the answer then, isn't it? There was just nothing for people that had already jumped in previously to this game to rebuy it. And that's the fan base. They're not adding anything worth your time, especially when it's a full price game. It's ridiculous.
It's madness.
Yeah. I think the thing is, though, sure it's done horrifically, but how much did they spend making this? Because I can't imagine it was a lot. Even if this game's performing worse than Concord cost how much to be made again? The actual returns on Until Dawn, they might have met it.
That's very true, yeah. It could well be that it didn't cost an awful lot to do, but it's always that thing of it's just an opportunity cost, isn't it? And they could have been the same studio working on a different IP to bring that back, and that's gone. So even if it didn't cost an arm and a leg to be able to do, you've still lost that time that team could have been doing something else. And that's the thing. And it just, to me, it just seems like it's just a bit fucking dumb, because you're putting this out around the same window that you have a marketing deal for Silent Hill 2, which is coming out at the same time. And it's like old school Sony, where you used to just put shit out to bury it back in like PS3 times. Yeah. It kind of feels like that. I don't know who the fuck this was going to go to. I think I saw one trailer for this, and we run a PlayStation fucking podcast. You know? It wasn't like as if this was being put front and center on different shows or anything like that. It was kind of just shit out with little trailers. It was never like given the full focus to be able to show why people need to buy into it. But Sony, maybe one day you'll learn your lesson, eh? And you'll remake a game that we all fucking want. Like Killzone or fucking...
Don't say it.
Don't say it. Say it.
I'm not going to say it. Resistance, baby. One day. One day. But that's enough of being down in the dumps. Phil, let's move it over to yourself. And the category that I'm going to give you today is things that you would expect to have while you're kayaking. So that could be anything that you're wearing, I will take any equipment on the kayak, anything like that. I've had kayak VR on the mind lately.
Okay, let's start off with the kayak itself. The kayak.
A paddle.
Life jacket.
I think you would probably wear a helmet.
Yep, people do. People wear flippers.
In the kayak?
Yeah. 100%, I feel.
The point of the kayak, you're not supposed to go over.
No, but if you do, you got flippers. Well, you don't need to walk in a kayak.
Are we allowing that? I mean, that's nuts. Getting in a kayak solid, let alone flippers on.
I've never seen anyone with flippers that has been in a kayak, but my experience of kayaking is very little. I've seen some stuff at the Olympics, and they don't have flippers on.
I've Googled it. They don't wear flippers.
There you go then. That was a quick one.
Yeah, my fault.
Oh, one apiece at the moment.
Fuck.
Competitive. Quick news. Okay, guys, I've got a little bit of info for the football fan among us. Hooray! But it's bad news, guys. Football Manager 2025. The release date has been pushed back until March 2025. So it's not coming out this year as we all hoped and we all prayed. Now I've got a little passage to read you. From the developers. After careful consideration, Sports Interactive has made a tough decision to further delay the release of Football Manager 25. Following discussions with Sega, our licensor, and partners, we have agreed that the best course of action is to delay the launch until March 2025. Now, I'm really sad for many reasons. Actually, I'm sad for one reason. It puts me behind on the Metacritic, because generally these games come out the year before, ready for the season ahead. Okay, so you would get it in 2024 for Football Manager 2025. And that's been the kind of cadence that they've met year upon year upon year. And it was kind of a solid pick for a fantasy draft, because generally they score high 70s, low 80s. So I thought that was a solid pick. But unfortunately, that being bumped until next year, I get a 0 for that. Okay, I'm still on 122 points with Indiana Jones as my last counter pick to come. So I've got a little bit of a knock off the top of there if Indiana Jones does come out, but I will be getting no further points. So I'm a little bit gutted on that. Now, how's that feel, guys? Are you as gutted as me when it comes to Football Manager 25 getting delayed until next year? Spence, I'm going to come to you first because I already know Davey's answer and I'm not going to come to him.
Okay, well, my answer anyway is who cares? But also...
Me!
But also, I just feel like, how is this getting delayed? Is it not just the same game it has been for the last 20 years, but with maybe a bit nicer graphics and they changed the names?
Pep's changing the game, mate, in football. Isn't that why you hear from people?
That is a deep reference. Well done, Davey. Well done. Congratulations. Can we get the clap, thing on?
Yeah,
Have we got that? Yeah,
we should have it.
We'll clap that. That was beautiful. Pep has changed the game once again. I love it.
Oh, the wrong one.
Well, you said wasn't that good, mate. Like hell.
But yeah, it seems crazy, doesn't it, Spence, that they need to delay such a game, because we're already, I think, 9 weeks into the season so far. So it seems strange to want to delay the game even further.
Yeah.
Wild. It probably doesn't relate to anything football related, more probably down to development stuff, I would imagine. That would be my complete guess on this one. I haven't got any further detail on this. If any of our listeners or viewers have got any facts on this, please write in, because I'm keen to understand where I'm going to point that finger of blame. Davey, do you have anything to say on this? I'll give you a go, seeing as you were so good with your little reference to Pep Guardiola.
Thank you, mate. Actually, I am gutted about this, because we got a bet on of which is going to score better in Metacritic, being Dragon Ball Sparking Zero or Football Manager. There's got 2 shots on the line. So I was hoping that it was going to come out so that I could give you another 2 shots for the big quiz. But now we've got to wait all the way till fucking March, which is wild. It's going to be on there forever on this fucking Bets and Shocks doc. So I'm gutted it's delayed. I really am. Because, Sparking Zero's done well. An 85 or whatever. It's not fucking bad. Football Manager's got a long old fucking uphill struggle to get onto it. He's checking now, isn't he? He's scared.
He's checking. He's like, 85?
It's high.
85. Davey, right? He'll always exaggerate every fact.
How far off am I?
85, mate. 83. How tall are you, Davey?
Wow.
I'm 6'2". How tall are you? 5'8". Right? He always exaggerates. That's always the way with Davey. 85. 8. Calm down, mate. It was only an 83. Let's move this on quickly, guys. Come on. Always exaggerating. Always bigger and better than what it actually is. Spence, I'm going to pass this over to you, and your category of tonight to kick us off is going to be a mix of watches, but I don't want digital watches. I want analog watches.
Calm. Rolex.
Citizen.
Omega.
Fossil.
Swatch.
Cartier.
Biden.
Harrier.
I think we might need to Google that one, because I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no,
I quite like watches.
I quite like watches.
I can't believe you didn't
Harrier watch.
I thought it sounds like a watch, doesn't it? I wonder if they'll let this one go.
This one called this it's not a brand. It's called the AV8 Marine Grey Hawker Harrier 2
yes,
chronograph watch. So it's not a digital watch. Is that the one you meant, mate? Is it?
Yeah,
That's the one you meant. Yeah.
But
Bollocks.
it's not a brand. The brand is AV8.
Oh, that's where I got it wrong then. All right, I'll take the L.
You got yourself mixed up there, mate. Unfortunately, you'll take the L on this one.
Yeah, I'll take the L.
That ugly watch as well, mine.
Just say something with enough confidence to hope it skates through.
Yeah.
So that's my plan.
Not when it's a category me and Phil quite like, though. This doesn't work.
No.
It's like the kayak, right, Spence?
Yeah, exactly like the kayak.
Yeah, we almost let that through. There was a lot of confidence behind that.
I said it, yeah. I tried saying it quick. I was like, flippers.
Flippers. Just in case you want a bit of a swim during your kayak. That's DLC, isn't it, in kayak VR?
It is, mate.
Customization, yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
All right, quick news. So we're going back the Prime, lads. Another show which is coming to Prime, which as we saw, which event did we see this at? It was it was during the State of Play, I believe, wasn't it? We saw a sneak peek at Secret Levels, which is a show, an anthology series based around video games. We now have a full list of all the video game franchises which are going to appear in this show, and a list of the voice cast. So some of the big names are Arnold Schwarzenegger, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Keanu Reeves, Kevin Hart, the GOAT, Emily Swallow, Ariana Greenblatt. And then some of the franchises, we have Pac-Man, Warhammer, Concord, Mega Man, Unreal Tournament, Armored Core, Sifu, Dungeons & Dragons. And it just says PlayStation will feature a number of games and characters. And then there's a few more which I've, left out. But those are the big ones. So that's basically everything we need to know ahead of Secret Levels' release on December 10th on Prime Video. Are you boys excited for this show? I started with Phil last time. Davey, I'll come to you. Are you excited for this?
Yeah. On the first time it was announced, I was like, to kind of take it or leave it. But now seeing the fucking top dog himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, going to be involved, that immediately spikes my adrenaline, right? Like, I'm straight in on this. Let alone the fact that we're going to get Warhammer's going to be sick. Like, that would be so good. Those, like, cutscenes that they normally have just for the start of Warhammer games are, like, nuts for, like, expansions and things. I can't imagine them actually doing a full one. That's going to be awesome. And Sifu being announced here, fuck me. They gotta surely have Keanu voicing that, right? For the guy who's just sourcing everyone up, kung fu-ing everyone. That will be amazing. So, yeah, actually, I'm really excited for this. I think this is going to be a good bit of fun. And I'm thinking that, like 20 or 25-minute episodes, blast them all in like a day or two, and just have a great time on the run-up to Christmas. I think this is going to be really, really good, and a strong choice of franchises here, albeit how odd it's going to be to see Concord return in this form.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that as well. Very strange, but Concord wasn't cancelled. It was just put on a big delay. We are apparently going to see it return. So this might, who knows? They might announce something with the release of this episode.
Who knows? Yeah, that's true.
Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But no, I'm just looking forward to seeing those characters return, man. I miss Concord all the time. I'm always thinking about it. So I just want to see it return. And fuck, who knows? Who knows what they do? But yeah, really excited. What about yourself, Mr. Hoy?
I'm excited but confused. I saw this list of video game franchises, and obviously my eye is driven straight to Concord, number one. And I am so glad that they've kept Concord in Secret Levels, and it hasn't got axed from that as well, because I'd be very disappointed if Sony does a Marvel and just tries to bury it, and we never talk about Concord again. But it seems like it's still got legs. It's still had some interesting characters, and one of the main, selling points for Concord was the story that they were introducing. It wasn't my favorite aspect of the game, but hell, now now we're getting it on Prime Video and we're seeing a bit more of Concord. So that's very welcome to me. But my confusion comes from the list of games. It feels incredibly sporadic. You go from Warhammer to Pac-Man to Armored Core to Sifu and then to Unreal Tournament. It's just wild. Like, who thought all these games would work together? And I really, really hope they do. But how the hell is it going to happen? I just don't know what to expect from this. We're going to have some awesome graphics. And of course, there's lots of lore to dig into from each of these IPs. But how is it going to gel together? You've got some great voice actors, but that's not even half the battle. You need to write something that's somewhat coherent across all these different wild titles. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm excited. December 10th, I'm going to be there. Cannot wait.
I think the beauty of it is that it doesn't really need to be coherent among the things. It's an anthology series. I think it was quite intentional, their decision to try and get as many varied IPs as they could to try and, because this is a bloody varied list, just to try and make it as separate, each episode as separate from the last as they can. It's one of the things I love about Love, Death and Robots, is that all the episodes are so random with different animation styles. I think it's a good chance of this, and I think it's a great list. It's just more episodes than I thought we'd get, I think, is the thing. If each one is its own episode, bloody hell. I thought it was going to be like maybe a 6-8 episode, maybe 10 episodes at a push. This is so much content. Bloody hell.
Let's hope the first one is good. That's all I hope for this. Because if they're going to go through IP by IP, creating episode after episode, and I'm not sure that's the way it's going to work, you know, I'd hope that there was some sort of connection between the full suite of IPs that we have here. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. But let's hope the first one's good. Because if they start off with Pac-Man, and we all saw that movie, and it dies, it's going to be very hard for Warhammer to rescue it, if that's the order that it's coming in. Because Concord's third down the list. Now, are we going to wait till Concord? I don't know. If Pac-Man's terrible, are we just all going to bin it and say a shit and it gets cancelled? I'm a little bit worried about that.
I don't think this is the set order. I was actually going to ask. I was going to say, if this isn't the order, let's put a shot on it. Which franchise do you think comes first? Closest wins.
Ooh, that's a good one, Spence. That is a good question to ask. I'll go first. I reckon they're going to kick off with an absolute banger. They're going to kick off with something really big. I think they're going to kick off with God of War.
It's a safe one, I think. But then it could be the perfect climax as well. So it could be the very last episode.
True.
Yeah, you need a banger each end, don't you?
Yeah.
And one in the mid. But I think, you know, something like God of War, get everyone talking about it, hype as hell, and then you can then do a little smaller one after that. You know, something like, you know, Mega Man. I mean, Mega Man, I'd be super, super chuffed to see. I'd love to see that and how they do that. It'd be awesome. But are people going to really, you know, shooting their loads over Mega Man? I don't know, like these days.
He's a child.
Well, yeah, not literally. He's not. Well, he's just an appliance. He is an appliance, really. He's Cyborg Man, or he's made, isn't he? So he's just a He's just like
he's just a robot, yeah. But he still looks and acts like a kid. So I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to spunk on him.
No,
but it's not pedo-y.
All right, moving on. I think for me, I think the one I think we'll see first, I think is going to be Dungeons and Dragons. For me, that strikes me as an opener of an episode. I think that's the one we'll be seeing first.
I was going to go for that one as well, just purely because it's an IP a lot of people know because of the movies. And the movies did pretty well. They're pretty successful. They made a bit of money. Now, why wouldn't you start with something that has more of an open reach as opposed to a game like Armored Core, which, you know, maybe just me on the podcast likes. You know, we're all PlayStation guys. We're all gamers, and one of us here out of the three of us likes Armored Core. So Dungeon Dragons, it's got the biggest reach, I think. It's the shotgun effect. Hit as many people as you can, bring people into the secret levels, and then, as you said, sprinkle in a couple of unknowns for the people that are uninitiated with some of these IPs.
Exactly right, mate. So now that I've taken it, which one do you think it might be?
Oh, if I can't go for Dungeons and Dragons, right? Because we've got a bet on it.
I can't agree, mate.
And I dissed Pac-Man, but probably that's the second biggest IP on this list, if I'm not going outside the realms of this tweet. So yeah, maybe Pac-Man. Yeah, I'll go with Pac-Man. Everyone knows Pac-Man. Not everyone's got a positive opinion of him on the big screen, but hey, it could be good. Why not? Let's go Pac-Man.
Beautiful. All right, I'll take Pac-Man, but I will caveat. I think I say if the show releases and this is the actual order, I think the bet's called off.
That's not the reason I picked it first, by the way.
No, I know.
I wasn't trying to cheat.
I don't think it was either. But I don't think this is going to be the release order. But if this is just a confirmed order, then it's a bit of a shame to bet on speculation whether or not it is.
Yeah, I agree.
So if this isn't the order, if like Love, Death, Robots, it was a beautiful. Well, actually, if they do what Love, Death, and Robots is, it might be a bit tapped. It was a different order for everyone who watched it.
You'd have to wait for the second one anyway to find that out. So if Pac-Man is first, you'd have to wait for Warhammer to be second, wouldn't you, before you can say, hey, this is the order.
We would. But if that happens, we'll be like, oh, shot retracted.
Deal.
But maybe not. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see. We'll end up seeing what happens. But that is locked in stone, bet placed. Lovely. So moving on now, coming around to yourself, Davey. My category for you is going to be soft drinks.
Oh, okay. Are we able to do flavors of things? Like if someone said Pepsi, for example, can somebody say Pepsi Cherry or no? Is just that's all gone?
I'm gonna yeah, but the name needs to be right. So if you're going for like a Mountain Dew variant, you'd have to say like the actual variant name.
Gotcha. Okay. Pepsi.
Ribena.
Coca-Cola.
Ribena's not a soft drink. Is
I
it?
could count it as a soft drink.
I guess, yeah. It's just not. It's not fizzy, is it?
It's just
Yeah,
not
sorry.
carbonated. But it's a soft drink.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Do soft drinks have to be carbonated?
No, they
No,
don't
no,
have
no.
to. No, you're right. You're right. Sorry, my bad. Spence, what did you say?
I said Coca-Cola.
Oh, okay. Fanta.
7-Up.
Fanta Fruit Twist.
Sprite.
Powerade.
Coke Zero.
Lucozade.
Red Bull.
Dr. Pepper.
Monster.
Tab.
Tropical Crush.
Coke Vanilla.
Mountain Dew.
Coke Cherry.
Diet Coke.
Diet Mountain Dew.
Pepsi Cherry Max.
Strawberry Fanta.
Apple Tango.
Ooh, fire. Lemon Tango.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Raspberry Tango. It's a new
Dr.
one.
Pepper
Just come out.
Zero. Nice. Dr. Pepper Zero.
Lemon and lime Coke.
Good one. Pepsi Blue.
Oh. Crystal Pepsi.
Monster Ultra.
Fanta Blue.
Monster Mango Loco.
It's going to go on forever.
Yeah, it is.
Evian. Water's a soft drink?
No.
We're not allowing that? You get it in the soft drink section?
I don't think that's soft.
Does that destroy the rules of the spirit of the question?
I think it does destroy the spirit of the question. Because I'm thinking in my head, it kind of is, but who would, it's not, is it?
Yeah, all right, fair enough. We'd be going on for forever. We'd be going on for forever with that one.
It was just until someone would have panicked. That's all it would have been. And I thought it would be you.
He was getting there. My friend. Quick news. So, in a change of pace, we're actually spicing it up a little bit, and I am going to be the guy going through the PlayStation Plus game catalog for October. Now, for those of you listening, we are recording this on the 28th of October, so we've only just got into the nick of time for October's, but we can't have a month without you knowing what games you've already had access to for about 20 days, can we? So, let's lay them out here, guys. So this is the Plus and... so this is the God. So let's start with the extra games. So we got Dead Island 2, which is coming to PS4 and PS5. 2 Point Campus for PS4, PS5. The Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me, PS4, PS5. Grease for PS4, PS5. Return to Monkey Island, coming out just for the PS5. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, PS4, PS5. Firefighter Simulator, The Squad, coming out to PS4, PS5. Overpass 2, PS5. Tour de France 2023, PS4, PS5. And Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands for PS4. And then finally, we got then the premium categories, which includes PSVR 2. And starting off with the PSVR 2 game, The Last Clockwinder. Then we've got Dino Crisis for PS4, PS5. Siren for PS4, PS5. And finally, R-Type Dimensions EX, PS4. Now, first off, before I get your thoughts, guys, last time we recorded on episode 100, we mentioned about a rumor that was coming out of South Korea about a game ratings board for Siren. And we were each talking about how different ways it could come back. And I'm glad to see, in a rare opportunity, for a Davey was right moment here, where I said chances are it's coming into the PlayStation Plus catalog. Here we are. It is out for the PlayStation Plus catalog for you premium subscribers. So that's always nice to see. Now, Phil, going to chuck it over to you first. What game here is standing out to you, or any games in particular, and how do you feel this month stacks up?
Oh, I'm very impressed, Davey, not only with this list of games, but your pronunciation of said games. Because it's quite a difficult one there, isn't there, with Clockwinder. You've got to be very careful how you pronounce that one. I could foresee us landing in another one of those quite deep conversations of, obscurity. But anyway, back to the list of games. Now, we've all played Dino Crisis. I personally love it, but it's not a good game. But I think a lot of people will be very, very excited to see Regina feature within the article and within the social media presence. I think a lot of people will be hype around Dino Crisis. But if you are going to play that game, make sure you've got a pad and paper because you'll need it. And you could also go back and watch our Blast from the Past, or whatever we used to call it, where we played through. I can't even remember. It's been so long. We were meant to do a Half-Life, weren't we? But that fell off a little bit, but maybe we'll revisit sometime in the future. I think we should. It was a nice little format, but the format was that we went back and played all the games, and we just did a review episode. We did Dino Crisis and very much hated it altogether, but loved it at the same time. But make sure you go back and play that episode before you actually play the game. Dead Island 2 is the big ticket item within that list. It's actually quite a big game, 73% on the Metacritic. Actually only came out last year, and it's much better than the original Dead Island that only got the 71. So it's the best of the series, I believe. I think they've got some DLC and things like that, which actually improve certain versions of Dead Island. But Dead Island's a good base to start off with on number 2. And I don't believe you need number 1 to start off with. It's just an every zombie game, isn't it? Just a lot of fun, a lot of messing around. So, I think that would be the big ticket item. But for me, the inclusion of Monkey Island is the one that sparks my interest, because I absolutely love those back on the PC, and 87% on the Metacritic. And I think that would be the one that I would pick out and just chill out with, because that's what Monkey Island was all about. Point and click adventure. It was very chill to play. So that would be the one that'd be interesting to me.
Nice, glad to hear it. What about yourself, Spence?
For me, looking at this list, one, don't go play Dino Crisis. It's dog shit. It's a terrible, terrible game. It's terrible. You need a guide to play it, really. Either a guide, or you need to be the most patient human in existence, because that game is a nightmare. You spend 4 hours just looking for a key card that you didn't know was on the floor on a different level of wherever you are, that visibly just wasn't there. It's a nightmare. I'm never going to play that again. And honestly, if you want to, fair enough. It's a legacy game. There's better games out there. That's my opinion. But in terms of the actual full list, Monkey Island, like Phil said, that's the one that stands out to me. Looking at this big list, it's not the best month for me, I don't think. Mostly because I don't have premium as well, so I can't play Siren or Last Clockwinder. So the normal full list, it's not the best month. Dead Island 2 I might be keen to check out if you boys want to dive into it, because I did very much enjoy Dead Island 1, but I'm not desperate to do that. There's nothing in this list that's proper like, oh yes, I can finally play that. It's just a decent month for most people to enjoy, I think. So I might check out Monkey Island, but other than that, it is what it is.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Spence. I think the list definitely gets bumped up quite a few notches if you got premium this month. And this seems to be the case just all the time now. Premium just seems like such a good deal at the minute. So many great games. Siren coming back here is obviously the hot ticket item for me. Already got it on download. Just haven't actually got around to it because I've been so far up Sparking Zero's arse. But I am looking forward to going back to that and experiencing that game all these years later. It's been a long time since I played it. But if I didn't have that, the game that I would be checking out if I was you guys would be Grease. This game looks awesome, man. It looks proper original. It came out in 2019, I think. Came out a long time ago. And I just had a little look at the trophy list for this, Spence, just to see. Have a guess. How many hours to platinum?
8 to 10.
Oh, it's 5 to 8.
Oh.
But yeah, it's sitting on a Metacritic of 83%, 10 out of 10 on Steam. So I think this is one for us to check out. You know, if we got a spare couple of hours, this looks like it's gonna be like a really nice original game and something that I have not paid any attention to before, but I'm up for giving this a go. And I think this is definitely something that I could put on the portal, take it around to Karen's, and just have a good time for a couple of hours. And I think that's exactly what this experience will be. So this is the one that's singing to me. If I'm being honest, the game that I would recommend everyone avoid is the Dark Pictures anthology, The Devil in Me. It's their worst game they've made. Supermassive. It's terrible. It's fucking awful. And it was a real struggle for me to get through. And I love these games. It sucks. I remember I dunked on this so bad. Don't start here if you haven't played one of these before. It is shit. And that's it. That's my piece to say.
And the Grease game is nothing to do with the movie Grease.
Unfortunately,
with the slick back hair and the leather jackets. Nothing to do with that, is it? Because I've just Googled Grease and it's come up with that. I don't. They've made a couple of games actually on the Wii, and there's a dance game I think on the PlayStation, Grease Dance. It's nothing to do with that, is it?
No. What's the platinum like?
Yeah. What's the platinum like for Grease Dance? What's that like?
Unsure, but you can use the Move controllers. So I've got Move controllers. So Spence, want to come around? We can do a bit of Grease.
It's an 8 out of 10.
Ooh. Is it that song? I assume it is.
What, 8 out of 10 difficult for Grease?
8 out of 10 difficulty, 10 to 20 plus hours.
What? Why is it so hard?
This game requires 2 PS Move controllers and at least 1, but recommended 2 microphones to complete it at 100%. So for one, you need to own everything.
Okay.
It's like the Astros
pay to play.
You're on about. Pay to bloody play.
Yeah.
Karaoke, dance, mini games, dance challenge. This mode requires at least 2 PS Move controllers. You can't access it with just 1, and it has trophies.
Class.
What a big dick platinum that one is.
That's crazy.
There you go. Well, I got the SingStar mics down in the basement, so we could pull those up, combine them with the Move controllers that you stole from me, Phil, and we're off to the races here. 10 to 20 hours of Grease Lightning fun. It's Grease Lightning! But no, this is spelled Gris, so I could be pronouncing it wrong. Gris, maybe, I don't know. I'm sure I'll find out when I report back on this game after I play it, but that is it for the list, guys. So let's move it on to the next one. So, Phil, coming across to you, categories. Let's do... I'm quite liking this theme that I've got on of things you do when you're doing something. Things you'd associate with skydiving. None of us have skydived, so we can use our imagination a little bit here. But things you'd associate with it. So that could be the clothing you wear, could be anything to do with it.
Goggles.
That's the first one I was going to say. Parachute.
Instructor.
A helmet.
A plane.
Yeah, it's getting a bit tough now, isn't it? It's starting to get a bit tough now. Reserve chute.
The flight suit.
surely you got to be wearing some shoes.
Socks as well, I reckon.
And pants. You'd probably wear 2 pairs of pants.
Yeah, you would.
That's true. Yeah, probably a shirt as well. Can't be shirtless with a shoot.
Yeah, definitely. And trousers. You know, you don't want to be jumping out with no trousers on.
Belts to keep up the trousers. You don't want them flying off, do you?
Exactly.
Probably need the jacket as well. It's quite cold up there, I hear.
Yeah, 100%. A GoPro.
And of course, you would need a selfie stick for said GoPro, because you wouldn't want to just hold the GoPro, would you? You'd want it on a bit of a stick so you can get a better angle.
Yeah, that's true.
True. A belt to attach yourself to the instructor.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. I was going to say like a harness.
Harness is a better word, yeah.
The ripcord for the parachute.
Or saying things in the parachute.
You would not want to forget your ripcord, would you?
Yeah, you need to remember that, mate. Jesus.
You're not jumping without that.
The backpack the parachute is in.
Yeah, oh yeah, you definitely need that. Can't be having a floppy parachute knocking about around the plane, can you? And of course, the parachute's got to be connected with wire, so that when it pulls out, it doesn't just pop off and you're dangling for nothing. It's got to be attached.
And as you're closer to Jesus, you've got to have your Jesus piece on, haven't you? You know, just because he can protect you on your journey south.
It's true. That is true. A headset and a microphone, so that you can communicate with your instructor. Can't hear through those winds.
That's a really sensible answer. I think a pocket Bible would be handy, so that if things start going out of control, you can pull that out when you need to.
A hope and a prayer. You've got the Bible, you've got the Jesus piece, and most people would, say the Lord's Prayer before jumping off.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Bravery. You need to take bravery with you if you're going to be jumping out of that plane. Can't be scared.
That's very true. Yeah, definitely. Courage as well. Courage to go alongside that bravery. Take that first step out the plane.
Yeah, and you would need balls of steel. So just you'd need that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making it out, would you?
It's true. A friend, because no one wants to skydive alone. You want to be experiencing it with your friends.
Yeah, your charity sign-up form that put you into the plane in the first place.
That's a good one. I was thinking of that.
That's so good.
Your sponsorship money. Because what's the point in keeping it down on the floor? You may as well take it with you. Because if you're going to die, go out and, style. Take it to the grave.
People would think it'd be like a video game. You'd fall, just money would come out everywhere.
It's true. You'd want your phone in case your chute doesn't deploy and you need to tell your loved ones you're going to die.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I think for me, I'd like to always jump with a registered nurse, like an ET, so that if you're having a heart attack or something, they can sort you out while you're falling.
3 of you attached to this thing.
Yeah,
your instructor and your nurse.
yeah, just in case.
They say don't jump on a full stomach. I would like to jump on a full stomach, so I'd like to have some food in my belly.
That's fair. Fucking hell, this is getting awful.
Are you stumbling there, Spence?
I was going to say a watch so that you can see the landing zone. It's the time you need to land there. Sometimes other people are using that landing zone. It's like the airport.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one, that is. I think for me, whenever I think of skydiving, my brain automatically just goes directly to not so much the boxes that you're wearing, but the cup that you wear underneath to be able to support, so that just in case you land and you hit a branch, your balls are always protected. You can't be too safe, can you?
Can never be too safe. And of course, you need to know where to land. So a lot of people that do parachuting, especially from a great height, you need a compass to understand which way you're going down. And I genuinely believe they do carry compasses. Feel free to Google that one, Spence.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. I believe you. God knows. As well, you're doing something quite thrilling. You need a speaker playing some badass music whilst you're going down. Yeah. Just you're like, wow, on your way, mate, making it good vibes.
Yeah, that nurse is carrying that. She takes that down for you alongside. And then if things get ropey, she chucks that. She's straight in the mix then to be able to help, isn't she? For me, an alcoholic beverage. I think that you have on the flight on the way up, because you want to be a little bit tipsy, you know, so you can pull off those mad sick tricks when you're jumping out. So you want to have at least a glass of bubbly.
As you're closer to the sun, you probably want sunscreen, because of course you don't want any sun damage, do you, on the skin? Mm-hmm. And as you're closer to the sun, it's going to amplify that.
It's true. It's true. Now, just in case you are lacking the bravery to jump, cocaine. That'll get you straight out the plane.
Yeah, it's a really, really good one, that. Really, really good. I would like to take with me I think the thing they take with them, especially for like drug runs, is a bag full of money. So when they jump out, you can then drop off the cocaine and make the trade immediately.
We're going to have to stop this at some point, but we'll stop it after me, because you need chapstick, because you would hate to get chapped lips.
Oh, yeah.
From a chap.
Yeah, that's essential.
That is essential as well. That's a smart one. If I was going skydiving, Donny chain, I wear it everywhere I go. I'm not leaving home without it.
Oh, you've already got the Jesus piece.
I'm an atheist, mate. I believe in Donatello.
Whoa, you're not jumping.
You're going to mock my religion?
You're not jumping with your Bible as well. You are really caught in death here. This is crazy. All right. Well, I think we'll call it a draw. We'll call it a draw on this one, shall we? And move it on to the next piece of news. But well done, lads. Well played.
Awful. Funny.
Let's never do that again. Anyway, quick news. We got one more piece of news from myself, and actually it's a 2-for-1, so you're getting a lot more than you bargained for, listener. And this news relates to the Wolverine. According to claims by a known insider, and I'm going to mess up his name because I've never heard this one before, Kurakaias, maybe? I don't know. Some known insider. He's saying that Sony and Insomniac are gearing up to show fans a little more from the Wolverine. He or she, I suppose it doesn't matter these days, says that from his little dig about, it looks like Sony is gearing up to show off some more stuff from Marvel's Wolverine. They said, it's hard for me to determine when it will happen, but I'm guessing it'll be this year, either at TGA or at some unannounced super secret event. So lock it in, boys. You've heard it here first. We're seeing Wolverine at the TGAs. So when I send you over my little video from Orlando, we're going to be talking about the Wolverine. But as I said, it's a 2-for-1 deal because we're talking about Insomniac here. Okay, so Insomniac Games, and a bit of sad news, actually. We got some good news about Wolverine. I've got a little bit of sad news about Spider-Man. They have confirmed that no additional story content is planned for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So I'll stop making that in my predictions, because unfortunately I've made that a few times and that's never come true, even though there's loads of rumours about this happening all the time. But Insomniac have now kiboshed it. It will not happen. It's a shame, as I do feel there's a lot that could happen there and a lot more to explore, specifically around the Carnage character, and that's what really excited me about said DLC, if that was ever going to happen. But maybe they want to keep that for a standalone game, probably around Venom, but we all know how great those movies are going, so I don't know if that character's got too much in the bank at the moment, but who knows? Maybe by the time they get round to releasing a Venom game, people will be hype on the character once again, and they would have forgiven Tom Hardy. Anyway, Spence, how do you feel about us getting some Wolverine information? I haven't got any specifics, but we are going to be getting some this year. And how do you feel about No More Spider-Man 2 DLC?
Well, the Wolverine thing, I'm actually just not that fussed about it. I think the Wolverine game, I don't know why, I'm just not that excited for it. So the fact we're getting it this year doesn't really mean much to me. I'd be happy to wait for it. It's not something that I'm desperate to have. So, I mean, maybe once I see some gameplay, if that is what we get this year, maybe I'll change my mind. But at the moment, I'm just not that excited for it. So I'm sure it'll be good. I'm excited to see it this year. Doesn't matter if that's delayed. Or if that doesn't happen, that's fine. The Spider-Man one, apparently there actually was story content planned, but after all the leaks came out from Insomniac, it's pushed them back, and now they're not able to do it, so they've cancelled them. That's what I read the other day, which sucks if that is true, because apparently there was 3 DLCs planned, but it is what it is. It was an awful thing when they got hacked and everything got leaked. It's just something in the industry. If this is what needs to happen for them to move on and make everything else good, make Wolverine up to scratch, it is what it is. It's fine. I think Spider-Man 2 holds up alone that it doesn't need DLC, but it just would have been nice.
You're right. It would have been nice. But then again, I am thinking about the characters they had in mind. And we threw around a couple on a previous podcast, but Carnage being the big character, I think I would be somewhat disappointed if that was DLC, because I really liked the symbiote saga when it came to Spider-Man. I love everything to do with Venom out of the movies. And I love Carnage, and I love the Maximum Carnage storyline. So it'd be really, really interesting to see what that would look like as a fully fleshed out game, as opposed to maybe a shorter experience with DLC. Now, Davey, how are you feeling about all that news? Wolverine and just Spider-Man news?
I think the Wolverine one is obvious, isn't it? You know, I'd expect if it wasn't there with the TGAs or a big state of play towards the end of the year, I'd be shocked, because at the moment we know that we've got one game for next year at the moment, which is Ghost, and that's it so far from PlayStation, right? I don't think there's been anything else that's been announced. So it's about time we start hearing, you know, some of the stuff coming out for next year. So Wolverine obviously announced a long time ago, and it's been radio silent. Obviously, there's a big leak, which put a lot of gameplay out there, but obviously very rough early gameplay, and I encourage people not to go out and look for it, because you might as well just wait now at this point. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the Wolverine game. I really am. And especially as much like Insomniac had fairly large boots to fill when it came to, in comparison to like Spider-Man 2, the movie, the game, which was like regarded by everybody. Everyone loved that game. Wolverine's got a really fucking good game himself from X-Men Origins. Wolverine, developed by Raven. So they've got something to prove here with this, and I don't think it's going to be an easy thing to be able to, like, say, just pick up Spider-Man's gameplay and put that onto Wolverine, because they're so fundamentally different. So I'll be looking forward to see what they do with this, and I am actually excited. And if we don't see it before end of year, I'll be kind of shocked. And I suppose to correct myself already before you guys write to me on Twitter, yes, of course I know that Death Stranding 2 is coming out next year as well, but I'll talk about it from the first party here. In terms of the second part of this, where Insomniac Games confirms no additional story content for Marvel for Spider-Man 2, I'm gutted about that. I really am. Like, the DLC for Spider-Man 1 wasn't as good as the main game, nowhere near, but it was decent, and it was good, and seeing like Tombstone and stuff like that was nice, right? Really, really awesome. I feel like Spider-Man 2, the more time I've had away from it, I just feel like there just wasn't enough there, that there should be more kind of meat on the bones. And I feel like DLC could have really just added to that to make it feel like a really complete experience, especially if they didn't nickel and dime everyone, if it was like reasonably well priced. And it feels a bit sad to kind of see that go and to not get that, especially where we know that they cancelled like their multiplayer Spider-Man project that they were working on and a few other things. I am gutted about it, and I feel like it's actually kind of the wrong step. And I don't think that Carnage on his own should be that prominent in a main Spider-Man game. We haven't seen the Green Goblin. You know, that's obviously where you go. That's Spider-Man's number one enemy, right? That's where you go for the final one of a trilogy. And so, do you then just put Venom as a little side part of that? Venom and Carnage as a little side part of that? I don't know. I don't know if they really need that. I feel like they could have put a 3 DLC arc, which is all based around the threat of Carnage kind of looming and not knowing he's there, and really built it up. So on that final piece, that DLC, you get like 4 or 5 hours worth of pure fucking Carnage, which had loads of hype and build into it. And that's not going to come to reality now. So I do feel it's kind of it's going to be one of those things that we'd look back on in a few years' time and then be like, oh, whatever happened to that setup? And there was just no payoff from it, you know? So I do feel a bit sad about that, especially as I really feel like they could have made some gold with Carnage there. But
do you want to know what the rumored 3 DLCs were?
Sure, yeah, if you got them.
I mean, if they're not happening anyway, it's not like it's spoilers, is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is what they were. I think it was going to be a Black Cat one, which, come on, who doesn't like seeing Black Cat? Best part of the DLC in one. And then it was going to be Carnage. And then the last one was going to be about the Spider-Verse. So it was going to be you play more as Miles than Peter, and it was going to have like Miguel and other
cool.
spider people coming in.
Oh, and that ties into the Easter egg, doesn't it, for collecting all the spider bots at the end of the game?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, that would have been cool. That would have been really, really nice. But hey, and maybe they're calling a double bluff here, boys. You never know. It could be they're saying this, and then lo and behold, we get to a state of play, and we've cooked something that's special for you. You never know, right? Like, you can't take it as absolute gold what they say, but I think you're right, Phil. Probably best to not include it in like a safe prediction at this stage.
Yeah.
It was more of a hope, I think, because I really wanted to see this DLC. I was really excited for it, and there's been loads of characters thrown about, isn't there? There's been the Beetle that you got introduced to at the end of the game. There's been Daredevil was featured within the game as well. So there's been lots of names thrown about, hasn't there? But anything from the rogues gallery of Spider-Man, I would have been overly hyped to see. And I think Spider-Man 2 probably needed a few more inclusions of, relevant characters throughout the story, because you had Craven as the main story and you had Venom as the kind of side story, didn't you, within it, which seemed a little imbalanced for me. But hey, that's the decision they made, and that's the game we got. So let's see what happens in the future. Let's now move this on, Spence. I've got one final category for you, okay? And I'm going to go for varieties of apple.
Oh, I don't eat very many fruit. What, a red apple?
I mean,
come on, mate. No.
Which one? Like brands?
Yeah.
Like
well, they're
the
not
varieties.
brands, are they? But they're the type of apple they are. Yeah.
Oh, when do you think the last time I bought an apple was? An iPhone.
I'm not sure I want to accept that, to be
No,
fair.
he's out.
Have you never heard of a Granny Smith?
That's what it is. I was thinking old lady apple. That's literally the only one I would know.
Golden Delicious, Brayburns,
A
Gala
Gala.
Apples, Pink Ladies.
A toffee apple?
No,
I would have accepted toffee. I would have accepted toffee
would have
apple.
accepted that. Yeah.
I would have accepted that. 100%.
Oh well.
Well. Get me on some junk food, man. Get me on apples. Fruits and veg. What are you on about? Quick news. Next and final bit of news from myself. Life is Strange developer Don't Nod is apparently facing layoffs. Now, we talk about this literally all the time. But what they've said is, we're getting this from insidergaming.com, and I'm just going to read verbatim the first one or two paragraphs just so we get a bit of an idea. So it says, Don't Nod, the developers behind Life is Strange and the upcoming Lost Records Bloom and Rage, is facing layoffs. The French studio announced on Wednesday that it was launching a reorganization project that could affect up to 69 jobs. The funny number, but in a sad circumstance. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like... I'm not sure how big Don't Nod is as a studio. I don't think it's a very large studio. But 69 jobs is quite a large number for a studio that makes games similar to Life is Strange. So I think this is quite upsetting news.
Yeah, just some extra little bit of context here. It says within this article that Don't Nod reported an 11% decline in revenue for the first 6 months of 2024. It also announced a write-down of 24 million euros due to the poor performances of Jusant and Bashir's Ghosts of New Eden. Another $7.6 million euro write-down was made due to the temporary pause of games P1-2 and P1-3 in order to prioritize resources and maximize the chances of success for those promising titles at present. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but looking at it, Spence, they're saying on here that there's 2 other games that are in development alongside Bloom and Rage. So I imagine they've got quite a large staff here in Don't Nod, which is quite surprising, really.
Well, it depends on how... Yeah, I wouldn't think it's more than like 300. I don't
Let's see if I can find it. Let me see if I can give it a Google.
Yeah, I've done a quick Google, and up on Reddit, it's always not the best source of information, but this is the first thing that come up. There is a comment around a headcount of 320 at the studio, so it's fairly large for the, I suppose, style of game they were creating. And I'm also reading that they kind of refused as well to give the people that were made redundancy, that were made unemployed, redundancy packages as well. So it's a lot harsher than maybe your intro alluded to, Spence. Apparently there's a number of walkouts that are happening over at Don't Nod because of the redundancies that are made and not getting a full redundancy package with that unemployment.
Bloody hell. It's a nightmare at the minute. You'd think games are making so much money nowadays that this kind of stuff wouldn't happen, but this is just, what, like the 10th time we've had layoffs like this for another different studio. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think we talk about this too much because it is just another thing that's happened that we've covered so many times in the past. But if they are all getting sacked without redundancy packages as well, that is truly just bloody awful. Couldn't they wait until Lost Records comes out and see how it does? Sometimes it's always right before a game launches, I feel, that this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, it's weird because they're French, right? So they're covered by EU law. So I don't see how they could do this. And I'd very much be hesitant in believing it, right? Like I'm looking at this now, looking a little bit deeper on it, and there was an update from the union who cover the who support the studio, and they're saying they broke the law by not providing any information to employees beforehand, before the meeting, to say that this was on the cards, but that's it. So there's nothing else on here about them actually not getting their packages or anything, but regardless, not a fucking good look. And it's weird to do it mid-project. Like you say, it's often a case you wrap up the project and then start letting people go. But when you've got something that's in development coming out in February, it does feel weird to be able to have such a big layoff of staff. And 69, people generally isn't a big deal at a studio, but when you've got like 300 odd workers, that is a sizable amount gone. And you do wonder like what those people are, what their roles are. I guess they're writers, their work's done, but 69 writers, no chance. So it's going to be like hitting across all different aspects of the team, I imagine, across their two different studios in Paris and Montreal. So yeah, sad news indeed.
Yeah, literally no news so far at all of which parts of the studio has been affected by this, but just all around awful news that seems to be the trend at the moment. So not too much to say about it. When we find out more, or if we find out who was actually affected by it, what areas and stuff, we'll have more to go off. But at the moment, just sucky days. Anyways, moving on. So round to yourself, Davey. Items you need to cook yourself breakfast.
Okay.
So there's a lot of options here because who knows what you're having.
To cook, not to eat, to cook, right?
Yeah, to make your breakfast.
Okay, spatula.
I think you would need a knife.
Your toaster.
Frying pan.
A microwave.
Olive oil.
Vegetable oil.
A fork.
A hob.
Gas.
A whisk.
Whisk is good. A blender.
Juicer.
A kettle.
Your fridge.
A grill.
A spoon.
What's it called?
Oh.
Bacon.
Exactly.
He's out. What would you call it? Bacon.
I was shitting myself, mate.
It starts off so simple, and then you've got to go really, really obscure with things, haven't you?
Yeah, I was thinking of something else, and when it wasn't coming to me, I was like, fuck it, bacon.
Imagine we were like, yep. Quick
Or you
news.
use bacon to make bacon?
Yeah.
Bacon sarnie, mate, yeah. Use bacon to make a bacon sarnie.
You don't. Yeah. Quick news. We got more bad news for you guys, but this isn't the end of the world, but it's still kind of bad. Wanderer, The Fragments of Fate, the long-awaited PSVR 2 game, which we are very much interested in on the podcast, has been delayed. So Mighty Eyes have put out a statement, which we got from Twitter. So they have said, and I'm going to read this verbatim, "We have some bad news, time travelers, and there's no way to sugarcoat this. We have to delay the game one more time. We hear you. Again? A time travel game that can't ship on time? How ironic. We know. But trust us, we did not make this decision lightly. We also know it's just another in the spate of VR game delays, and you all just want to get stuck into some epic VR experiences. While we could go into the multitude of reasons for the delay, the truth is VR development is bloody tough, especially when we're determined to push the boundaries of what's possible with a VR adventure game. We truly are sorry, but we want to make sure we get this right, and we don't want to let you, our players, down. We are getting very close, though. This extra time will allow us to fine-tune and polish Wanderer the Fragments of Fate across all platforms, continue to QA and fix bugs, as well as offer day one multi-language support. We know Wanderer the Fragments of Fate is a unique VR adventure, and we want to ensure the experience is one you'll never forget. We're not going to share our release date just yet. Been there, done that, lessons have certainly been learned, but rest assured that news won't be too far away, and this time it is not going to budge. So we ask once again for your patience, kindness and faith. We are hell-bent on bringing you an epic time-traveling adventure, and we aren't giving up on that vision. The team at Mighty Eyes. Can I just say, lads, what a fucking fantastic post to put out for a game delay. So well worded, with a nice little bit of humour and acknowledging the shit sandwich that they gotta deliver. And I think that's exactly how you do a game delay, personally. It sucks, because I was looking forward to playing that this year, but then at the same time, I'm looking at my backlog of games and thinking, thank God it's not coming out this year. So it's kind of like it's kind of a win-win, but it still kind of sucks. Now, Spence, you were interested in getting this on your VR too. How are you taking this news?
It's a good post, like you said. And I'm not pressed for this game. I'm happy to wait. I'm happy for them to take as long as they need. I'd never get upset about this. But I do have an issue with the post, and it's just that they're kind of promising that the game's going to be really good in this post. And if it falls short on release, then this is a joke. And that's kind of the only thing. I think it's a well-written post, and it's great that they've been honest with us. And it's nice that they're telling us literally exactly what they're doing with this time. But to make sure this is the experience you'll never forget. You're selling something that, you're hyping it up quite a lot for a game you've delayed like 3 times already that was supposed to come out this year. You need to kind of be able to pull that off. So, as it stands, this is a great apology and a great post. If the game falls short on release, then this has pissed me off. But as it stands, it's great.
I totally get you, yeah. It will age like milk, won't it? If this just doesn't deliver. Yeah, I fully see where you're coming from. What about yourself, Phil?
Well, this is a game that I didn't even anticipate because I'm not in the VR space at all. But what concerns me a little bit, and we see this over and over again at the moment when it comes to VR games, and they reference it here that it is tough to be creating a VR game. Who is setting these timelines? And who is, planning ahead and saying this needs to be done by this date when it comes to a VR game? Surely you would see a trend with this type of stuff and then start to adjust, start to micromanage these a little bit further rather than putting it all on the developer to come out and kind of take all the blame. It just doesn't seem fair to me to be pushing them this hard when actually we really want good VR experiences here over in PlayStation, and we need good VR experience here at PlayStation because from my point of view, I don't see many that actually exist. Of course, you boys wax lyrical about certain titles over on VR, but I only hear it from you. I don't hear it from the masses. Now, if The Wanderer is going to be that game that everyone's like, Phil, you really need to play this. This is the big VR game that you've been waiting for. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good that they're under so much pressure. Let them have the time. Let them have the space. Let them create the best ever VR game. Okay, there's limits to that because we've seen it with Media Molecule with Dreams. You can't give an unlimited schedule when it comes to game development, but you can give them a little bit more because we want it to be good, and nothing else has been good in that space, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, right? Because they obviously are getting support because they've had 3 delays. So if they weren't, then it would have been a case of you just put it out and that's it, right?
You get.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have been a piece of shit, and everyone said it wouldn't have worked, or it would have been a low frame rate, or it would have been a low fidelity, or whatever it is, right? So I can see the argument that, yeah, it probably is a case that in production schedules, when they were doing them, maybe they pushed a little bit too hard in terms of saying, here's your deadlines, we reckon it's achievable. But game development's one of those things, isn't it? It's a bit nebulous, that it could have been that they started off with an idea in mind and it's just ballooned and ballooned in scope and in complexity, and before you know it, they're way over schedule. And I think ultimately for me, like you said, Spence, I don't care how long this takes to come out, because I'd much prefer it to come out and get the bang right. We said this a few times with VR now, but it's a small ecosystem that people talk and word spreads very quickly. And if you don't come out with the right foot forward, your game is just dead. And it's happened so many times that I would prefer them to take the step, just like Skydance doing with Behemoth, and come out when it's ready and good to go. And the only hope is, as you said, Spence, that they actually deliver upon the promise that they've built here. But we'll wait and see, and time will tell. Time will tell. And if we're able to go back in time to this moment from when we're playing Wanderer, we'll know whether or not it's good. So that's something that's a little bit meta for you there. Now, Phil, let's bring it on to the last thing I want to have, speaking of time travel, movies that feature time travel.
Feature time travel.
Yep.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Why'd you start there?
Apocalypse does not feature time travel.
Are you saying that? Because we can Google that.
Yes, I am saying that.
Doesn't Wolverine go back in time in Apocalypse?
No, not an Apocalypse.
Or forward in time?
No, that's in...
You are thinking of Days of Future Past.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish on movies, so you've got me straight away.
Apocalypse is the one with the awesome scene with Magneto on the ground. Yeah, but there's that awesome scene with Magneto's on a train in it. Is that
no? That's
Dark Phoenix. Yeah,
That's Dark Phoenix.
That's Dark Phoenix. Yeah.
Apocalypse is the one where Magneto's got like an orb of magnetism around him.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
Where Quicksilver finds out that Magneto's his dad.
Yes, yeah, I remember. That film was garbage.
Yeah. And what's the Angel guesses metal wings.
Psylocke's hot as fuck.
Oh yeah, Olivia Wilde, bro.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, what's Google saying, mate? I think we're right.
If you're right, I'll take the L.
But yeah, I'm fairly confident as well. There's no time travel in that film.
Generally, Apocalypse does have time travel associated to him.
It does in the cartoons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, not in that one. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very faithful rendition of Apocalypse, and it's also why that movie sucks balls. So, Phil, bring us on then to our final piece of quick news for the evening.
Quick news. Now, guys, I've got a little bit of information around a well-loved series by yourself, Davey. So, Guerrilla Games has come out and said it's done with the Killzone series, and Horizon was, by choice, the opposite game in terms of palette and audience, says the art director. So some sombering news for you there, David, that unfortunately we're not going to see any more from Killzone. It's a big tear dripping down my face because I know you love that and you wanted to see more Helgas. I mean, they do show up from time to time. We just seen them in Astrobot, didn't we? So I'm sure we'll still hear about the series, but we're not going to get a fully fledged Killzone game in the future from Guerrilla Games. Now, Spence, how does that news sit with yourself?
It's sad, I think. Saddening news, but just because something's been killed or done with for now doesn't mean it won't ever return, I think. So I wouldn't say this is the complete end of Killzone, it kind of hints that way. But no one knows what the future holds, and currently PlayStation is lacking with shooters, especially because the one they had is gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if Killzone does make a return in the future, but as they're saying, yeah, they're going to keep doing Horizon, because it's their game. We're getting a bloody Lego one in a bit for some reason. So I don't know. It's just kind of something I think most of us already knew, really. But it's fine. Doesn't bother me at all.
I guess all it takes is someone like, is it Nixer Software is doing a lot of the remakes of Horizon to say to Guerrilla Games, hey, we've made some good remakes here, right? We've assisted you on a couple of projects. If you don't want the Killzone IP, bring it over to us. We'll try and do a full game. I could see something like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be Nixer Software, but someone around that sort of pedigree to be able to take it and run with it. Now, Davey, I know you're probably going to be hit the hardest by this news. Do you want to spill the beans on how you're feeling?
Sure. Well, I think it's important not to lose hope here, and the reason being is because the article, even though at the top it says they were done with it, the actual thing is we were done with it as a team, is what it's saying. So he's speaking in the past tense in terms of saying when they developed it for PS4, that at that point they were done with it. But it's not saying we are done with it. If it was like we are, game over, GG's not happening, right? But we were done with it as a team. I think is really important here, because I don't think they are. I don't think they will be. I think they said they need to refresh the palette. We need to refresh the palette. It was by choice the opposite of Killzone. Great. Completely agree with you. And I think if they're working on that same thing for a long time, all the way from PS2 all the way to the start of PS4, it makes perfect sense. They were done with it, boys. They're not done with it. They were. They're going to take that break. It's like you're with your missus now. We all love our missus, right? Great girls. But every now and again, you get that sneaky thought in your head and you think, that was good ex, mind. That ex I had back 10 years ago, she was all right, you know. It sneaks in.
I
you don't act on it. You don't. No, of course not. Nor do I. But it pops in. It pops in. And that's all it takes. And then all of a sudden, one of them just thinks, fuck it. Let's do it again, lads. And then boom, shakalaka, we're off to the races. I don't think this is the end of days. I think this is just saying why they chose to develop Horizon instead of just doing the same thing they were doing all the time. Don't lose faith, ye faithful Hellgast fans. They will return. I will pray to the gods. I was going to say I'll bet money on it. I ain't betting. I ain't betting, bro. I ain't betting. But I'm praying. And so, with that, lads, do you want to know the scores for quick news today?
Yeah.
Not really.
How do you think it's gone?
Well, we did have a draw, didn't we? Which
we did.
Complicates things slightly.
It does.
Yeah, so it's an odd number of categories we've done, I suppose.
It is indeed. And so because of that, we actually have, for a first time in a long time, we got a draw. So we have, coming in with only 2 wrong answers, Mr. Philip Hoy. And it means yourself, Spence, and me tied on 3. 3 apiece, my friend. So it means both you and me have a shot in the dock going in to the next episode. And with that, let's move it on to Rumour Has It.
Kick it!
You wake up with a rumor and you don't want to go. You ask if it's confirmed and they still say no.
Yes, lads. Rumour Has It has returned once again. This is slowly coming back to kind of a mainstream topic for us now. I like it. I do like the little speculations we get in this bit. So for our first rumour, we do have 2 today. I'm just going to read out verbatim what we have written down. Yes, the rumours are true. God of War Greek Saga Remastered, not the actual title, is in the works at Santa Monica Studios and Nixis Software. Apparently the development is finished and they are just waiting for an announcement release. and it is to be released in 2025 with an announcement December to March. Ooh. So obviously, Davey, you're the big God of War fan.
Uh-huh.
What would you expect this remake to entail? And do you think it would be a next year release?
Oh. So, what I would hope that it entails would be that I would want it the same way that they did on Ragnarok for the DLC, where the camera is behind Kratos and it's a complete reimagining. And that's what I want, right? I think we've had a number of different remasters for the original trilogy and for like Ghost of Sparta and all those games. And they've normally just polished it up, right? And I think it's about as good as it can be in terms of that polished up of the original style. For like the PS3 remasters and then the PS4 ones, they were redone as well. So I think if you're going to do it, go the whole fucking hog on it and do it the same way that Ragnarok teased with those little sections when you're fighting the Greek enemies, right? It's what I would want. It's what the fans would go crazy for. And sure, it would change the original games because you wouldn't have that kind of fixed camera that's floating around, and the way that combat worked was completely different to the way that it works now in modern God of War. But that is what I would want. However, if they are doing that, then I can't see a reality that they could have the Greek saga done that way. That's like 6 fucking games or 7 games. There's no fucking chance. So it would just be God of War 1 that would be redone in that style if it was the way I want it. Realistically, if this is coming out and the development's already done, then chances are it is just another version of the same ports that we've had multiple times already, just packaged into a one on the disc game, like the Metal Gear Solid Collection or something. And that's not as exciting. I probably wouldn't end up getting it, to be honest, unless they somehow did something crazy to it. And it's just a little bit tame, I think, and not really living up to the promise of what this could be if they just went the whole hog on it. But that's my kind of overall thoughts there, Spence.
Damn, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Phil, are you kind of laying on the same bed with Davey? You thinking it's going to go the same way?
Oh, 100%. And I'm not surprised at all that we're getting this within Rumour Has It, because I think this was always on the cards. They were always going to bring back the Greek saga, but it's only now that they've ramped up with dropping a couple of breadcrumbs from here to there, and people are talking about it a lot more. Now, is this something I want particularly? No. Is this something that I think will do well? Yeah, it's a pretty popular IP. So I think anything they release with God of War, you're going to get a lot of eyes on it. A lot of people are going to buy it. And when I see remakes made, I think a lot of it is just a bit of a trial, just to see if that interest is there before they start putting more development into these areas. Now, do they in any way think that God of War isn't going to sell? Definitely not. They know it's going to sell. So they don't really need to venture into it like some of the other titles that we're seeing lately remastered. Because as I said, I think they're just kind of testing the waters to see if there's enough people still around to appreciate, for example, Metal Gear Solid. They remastered a lot of those games. They re-released a couple of them. And the people really liked it, and that's why we're getting the Metal Gear Solid 3 at a much higher level, the full remake. And that's what Davey really wants when it comes to the Greek saga, is a full-on remake. It's not a remaster. You want a full-on remake and a restyling and a reimagining of the Greek saga. You don't want a remaster. But I'm 100% sure that we're just going to get a little sprinkling of graphics here and a couple of upgrades there, and maybe a couple of trophies there with this Greek saga that's coming to remaster. But also, one thing to bear in mind is we're just on the verge now of PlayStation Pro, and every game basically gets a free remaster with the PSSR AI that we're getting integrated into PS5 Pro, because that's one of the big 3. So pretty much every game is going to look better once you have the Pro. So we're already getting a remaster. But this game, I think, will sell very, very well. I think it'll do very, very well. It'll do bits out in the wild. So, as I said, I'm not hugely shocked by the announcement of this. The release dates are pretty soon, but I could see this definitely happening within 2025.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I think Tell you what, this is going to be a really short rumor because I actually just completely agree with both of you. Before you even said anything, Davey, I was thinking it's just like the Metal Gear collection. As soon as I read the development's finished, I was just like, oh, obviously just a port. There's no chance the development would be finished on a full-scale remake or anything. No way near. They've clearly just touched it up a little bit, going to bundle it, and off it pops. So, I mean, it's probably the smart thing to do. I think, depending on the price, I could buy it. It depends, because I'd like to play them and get trophies. I've still not really played the original God of War games, even though I think, halfway through the first one currently. I just haven't got back to it. I probably would buy it depending on the price, but it definitely is just kind of chuck it out. This is taking no effort.
Yeah, and I think that's the shame, really. And it feels like as if I'm being a bit harsh on this when I was so over the moon with Legacy of Kain getting a similar treatment to this, right, in terms of just getting a brush up. But the difference is that the God of War series has been done this way so many times in the past. And so I don't know how much more they could push it. Now, if they came out and it looked fundamentally different from how I imagine it's going to look, color me sold, right? I'll be on it immediately. I just can't see that being a reality. And I can see that I'm looking at the same PS2 level graphics that are now just in 4K rather than 1440, you know? And I don't know if that's enough to get my dick hard as much as I love these games, right? I just can't see that. But I do believe the rumor. I do. I actually do. I think announcement time, December to March, makes sense. You can get a big pop at something like the TGAs, right? If it was being shown there, or like an end-of-year state of play. I don't know when you release this, though. No idea. Literally no idea. But I'm gonna agree with it. I reckon this is bang on. I reckon we're gonna see this in a couple of months. What about yourself, Spence? We already know that Phil's sipping the Kool-Aid on this one.
I think, yeah, 100%. It seems like the obvious thing to do. I think we probably will get an announcement. It's quite a wide window, that, for the announcement, December to March. So it makes sense. But I think it will release. The issue is, I would say it would release with the show, but the show's just been confirmed to start from scratch. So that's a bit hard. But I also don't think they would be pressed to release this. I think they might announce it just saying coming 2025 and try to release it in time with the show whenever that is feasible to happen. I don't think they'll give us a release date right away. I think they'll try to get it to line up just because it will definitely guarantee sales. But who knows? It could be they could release it first and then the show back upgrades the sales later on, like The Witcher or something. There's really no way to calculate it when it's a tie-in thing like this. But yeah, it's definitely real. 100%. Because why not? So easy. Easiest money. Just getting showered in the money. Piece of piss. No freaking effort. So we all in agreement?
Yeah, we're all lined up on this one.
Yeah.
Lovely, nice, quick rumor, lads. But that's not the only rumor that we have. For the second rumor, it's actually two rumors, but they're kind of in the same vein. So we've bundled them together. So the two rumors are as follows. There is an Uncharted reboot in the works. So this could be a soft reboot like God of War 2018 or a full reboot. And there is Uncharted Drake's Fortune remake in the works. But the rumor also states that neither of these are being worked on by Naughty Dog, but Naughty Dog is assisting in the development. And apparently Naughty Dog's off doing their own thing. They're making something that's apparently way different. A game that offers a lot of player freedom. Their own thing. So this Uncharted news, nothing to do with Naughty Dog, although they might help if something's going wrong. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I started with Davey last time, so I'll come across to you first, Phil. How do you feel about these two little bits of Uncharted reboot news?
Well, I'm a huge Uncharted fan. I've loved every single one of the games. Okay, there was highs and there was mediocrity within that series, but I very much enjoyed playing through the Nathan Drake saga and everything that Uncharted had. Even the PS Vita game, I enjoyed that as well. So I very much welcome a reboot. Are they aimed at me? Probably not. I'm not going to go back and replay them within their reboots and their remakes, but it's just the style that we're getting these days. Everything is being remade. So Uncharted, it was just a matter of time. But I find that really interesting, that sort of minor point that you brushed over at the end there, Spence, around Naughty Dog creating a game that offers a player a lot more freedom. Now, Naughty Dog touched on this a little bit with Uncharted The Lost Legacy, didn't they? Because they kind of mixed up open world sections with kind of very linear sections of the game. Now, that would be very interesting if they explored that a bit more and did a lot more open world stuff with the kind of single player narrative. I think that would interest me a lot for the future of that and to see what that turns out to be. But at the moment, of course, we're only just speculating. I think the rumor around the reboots and the remakes of the Uncharted series, it's always going to happen. It was just a matter of time. Is it going to happen next year? Like, it would be a hell of a year for remasters and remakes if we're getting God of War and we're also getting an Uncharted. But it makes a lot of sense and it's a clear cash in. So hell, I can believe that these two things are going to happen.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Davey, how about you?
So I think the first one for me, and the one that I'm actually really excited by, is the opposite to Phil. So I think for me, Uncharted Drake's Fortune remake would be amazing, right? That game came out at the very start of PlayStation 3, or it felt like it. It's when I bought my PS3, was because of that game. And it doesn't hold up that well. Like, it's definitely the roughest out of all of them. And there was such a huge leap. And that's what made number 2 feel so special, was how much better it was than the first one, right? So I think going back to that game and remaking that and making that story of, the Lost City of Gold really sing would be amazing. And I think they could do it so well from the lessons that they've learned from like all the way through to Uncharted 4 that this game could really fucking kick ass. And it was always great, don't get me wrong. Like, the characterization was amazing, and it was a big step forward for Naughty Dog, coming off the back of like Jak and Daxter to then Uncharted. It was a huge leap. But they did it so much better with 2, 3, and 4 that 1 does not look as good. Now, Spence, you went back and you played the Uncharted games not that long ago in the grand scheme, right? It was only like, 18 months ago or something? You have the most recent experience of playing 1 out of all of us. Am I wrong here? Does it not hold up?
Yeah, mate. I played them. It was longer than 18 months ago. It was about 4 years ago I played them.
Bloody hell. It's gone fast.
Yeah, it feels longer, but that was, I know, because when it was before I got with Georgia, or it was like during the talking phase, was when I played them. So I at least started Uncharted 1. About 4 years ago. But 1 is definitely the roughest. By far. It looks the worst. It controls the worst. It plays the worst. That doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just the worst in a brilliant franchise. It's the worst by a lot, though, is the only kind of issue with that. But the only thing with this news is strange to me. It's just, why do both at the same time? A reboot and a remake.
Yeah. I mean that's the crazy thing. I mean, I haven't even touched on the reboot thing, but I mean, the reboot kind of makes sense to bring Uncharted back. I think it does, and it laid off, and it could well be a sunset moment in terms of the way that Uncharted 4 ended. And of course, I won't spoil that for anyone who doesn't know. But I think if you're going to reboot it, you just bring it back for Uncharted 5. But it's just that you're playing as that person that's left, right? I'm really trying to be vague here for someone who hasn't played it. So you're not playing as Nathan anymore. You're playing as that person. And I think that would be fine, and have Drake fill the role of like a Sully throughout the story. And I think that would work really well. And you could still have those same kind of emotional moments where you think that someone's died and, they're fine in the end, right? Which is always what Uncharted's all about. So I think you could still do that with a reboot, and it would work fine. But I don't know why they would say a reboot. It would just be Uncharted 5. Just be a bring back.
I actually don't think that would work, but for something I can't really say because I feel like it spoils.
Listener, I'll put, when I'm putting this together, I'll put a timestamp in for a spoiler here, so you can then skip ahead if you don't know. Okay, and I will do that, I promise. Carry on, Spence. I want to know.
Naughty Dog's other big game is Last of Us.
Yeah.
Is that not just Last of Us? A father-daughter role together, going about exploring, climbing. Sure, the gameplay's a little bit different, but it's basically just Last of Us.
It's more so the theme, though, isn't it? You know, like, the one's a pulp action adventure where everything you step on, that bridge collapses, and everyone's all fine at the end, no matter what you go through. Whereas The Last of Us is fucking miserable. So, like, even though it's the same dynamic, they're very different tellings on that dynamic, aren't they? Like, the one would be you're putting somebody in a sling or a wheelchair because their fucking back's broken where they've fallen off a bridge. And the other one, they fall off that bridge, they get up and they say, oh, can't believe that bridge went. You know, like, it's like so completely different, even though it's the same kind of base model.
They'd probably make a joke, wouldn't they? They say, watch the first step.
Yes,
Whoa.
yeah, 100%.
You know, a little quip.
I know what you mean. I just feel like it would be too, like, for Naughty Dog to be doing both of these, for them to do Last of Us and Uncharted, and both of them are a father-daughter thing, just in different settings. I don't know. I feel I understand. It's probably how I would want it to go as well, but I can see why they'd be against doing it and rather just change it. But that being said, I still don't think a reboot is smart.
That's fair. So yeah, I mean, out of the two rumors here, for me, I am hesitant to believe the reboot rumor, but I believe the remake of Uncharted Drake's Fortune. And I think that makes perfect sense to me. And out of all the games that we've had remade over the last few years, that one actually wouldn't be a bad idea to do. So which means they're probably not going to do it. And they'll do God of War 2018 instead. But that's the one that makes the most sense to me, for sure.
Yeah, as I said, I believe in both. I think they're both actually going to come. Getting the remake of the original, great idea. It was obviously going to happen. Nice little cash in. Why not? And then with the reboot, it worked for God of War. And now God of War is as big as it is. So why not do the same thing with Uncharted, who has already got a lot of fans out there and wanting more. So yes, I could definitely see a reboot happening.
I think I'm more agreeing with Davey, but I don't know. I could see a reboot happening as well, but just not in the same time frame, I guess. I think there'd be like a 3-year difference in these two releases.
Do you think that with like a reboot, it would be a totally different set of characters? Because it doesn't have to be the characters we know and love, right? It could be someone else that's going on adventures. I don't like this idea
think
myself.
I'd like that.
I don't like it either. But I'm just...
I want Nate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose potentially, but I'd hate it. And at that point, why not just not make it a reboot and just call it a spin-off? What's the need for it to be called a reboot? I don't know. I think I would safely say today that the Drake's Fortune remake, yeah, I'd believe that 100%. But the reboot, even if it is happening, it's so many years out that I feel I'd be confident in saying that one's bullshit. Also, I just don't want it. I easily don't want it. I'd rather them continue than reset.
It's in the works, guys, though. It doesn't need to happen next year. It doesn't need to happen in 2 years' time. It's in the works. So them just acknowledging that this is something that they potentially are working on, it kind of holds a little substance because of how well God of War progressed. God of War got way more famous and way more popular because of the remakes. So why not rinse and repeat that model and do it with Uncharted? For me, it makes complete sense.
I feel like they're different, man.
The problem is you got a god who doesn't age, really, and somebody who does. And was already looking... He's up there with your age, Phil. You know? He was struggling to get up out of bed.
So he's only getting better. That's what you're saying.
Fine wine, baby.
Exactly. The reboot, he's going to be looking good, looking swish.
Yeah. I feel like God of War had a great reason to reboot because it changed mythology. It had the perfect reason to do it. It also changed
gameplay, right? And the most criticism for the Uncharted series, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, but from my opinion, the latest Uncharted had the most criticism because the gameplay just got stale. It was just rinse and repeat. You had 3 or 4 different things that happened, and people absolutely hated just swinging from branch to branch. It just got a bit boring. The story was great, but the actual gameplay was just a bit meh. Having a reboot, you could do an open world Uncharted with Nate. You could do something different. You could change the fundamental aspects of the game, but prolong the story and tell it in a different way, just like God of War did.
He's selling me, Spence.
Not selling me, mate. I would hate an open world Uncharted game. I'd hate it.
It doesn't have to be like open world. I'm just using that as an example because of what you introduced, okay? It could just be something slightly different, just like God of War did. You had... As Davey explained previously, with the Greek saga, you just had kind of that camera that would just follow you around. It wasn't behind you, and it was a hack and slash, wasn't it? You know, the more modern God of War is completely different. It's that single player narrative, and it's not so crazy combat. It's much more intense. So they could do the same thing now with Uncharted and just change it, just tweak it slightly to modern standards, and do something special with it.
They could. But I don't want them to. I think that's the only thing. I agree with you. They very well could, and they might. Like Lost Legacy, that spin-off standalone one, it's kind of open world. It's more like there's a hub world, which branches off into its own linear things. But I think that was just a way to keep the game cheap and not have like a cutscene between switching places.
Yeah.
I think they just slapped a hub world in the middle, which is just a big empty desert, and said, oh, there's your objective, there's your next one, rather than having a linear experience with an expensive cutscene in the middle. That was just to save money. I like linear games. And I'm not saying, like, sure, this might not be an open world game. The gameplay in Uncharted, I can't imagine it having different gameplay. I can't imagine it working with different gameplay.
Could you have imagined God of War at the time, right? When you were playing the Greek saga, you could have never imagined where they would go in the future. And they've changed it for the better. I don't know anyone who's going to stand up and tell me the original games were better than the remake. Yeah, with God of War.
That's true, but hack and slashes also just kind of went out of vogue. Like, no one really makes hack and slash games anymore. It's all the big action games.
But with Uncharted, they clearly ran out of ideas. That's why the latest one was a bit stale.
And no one really does cover-based shooters anymore. Like that.
Yeah.
I can see it, man. Phil, you've turned me, bro. You've turned me. I mean, the only way they could really fuck it up and it wouldn't work is if they put it first person. If they did that, that would be a bad idea. But anything else from that, I think I'm kind of in. I would prefer, obviously, it to just stick to the same formula and just give me what we've always had because it just bangs. But fuck, if you're gonna do it, swing for the rafters, bro. I'm in for this. Phil, you sold me. Do I believe it's happening? No. But if it does, you still sold me on the dream.
It's fair. I'm going to stick by my guns. I'm going to say Drake's Fortune remake's true. Soft reboot isn't true. And I firmly stand by I don't want it to be true, I think.
Okay. So with that then, that ends our show. That ends episode 101. It's been a fantastic journey with yourselves, boys. And audience, I really hope that you feel that the tree that we planted at the start of this bore fruit and that you feel full and nourished with PlayStation goodness coming out of this. You get that good old vitamin PS flowing down those fucking gullets into that stomach and through those veins, baby, because we were giving it to you hard all the way through this episode. If you agree, then the best thing you can do is to support us by leaving a rating on whichever podcast service you consume us on. That's on Spotify. Then all you have to do is you make sure you've listened to a couple of episodes on that platform, and then you can give us a rating. We are still holding on to a 5-star rating, and they are growing, so thank you ever so much for everyone that does that. If you're listening on Apple iTunes or wherever the fuck anyone else listens to it, I don't know what you do there, but I imagine it's a similar kind of thing. So put a 5-star on it. It does help people find us. And if you are watching on YouTube, then hi. Best thing you could do for us is put a like on the video, comment below on anything that we've discussed today. We'll make sure to reply to you. And ring-a-ding that fucking bell, baby. Subscribe and get us all your notifications because you do not want to miss a fucking upload. Especially as we got a special in the works, which we shall announce pretty soon over on our Twitter. So head on over to X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, at PS We Trust. Hit us up over there. We also have a range of different ways that you can get in touch with us, which are all linked in the description of the show, including a Discord. So go on and check it out. But that is enough of plugging our stuff. I have been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.